Michael,
What's up, Steve? How are you?
doing okay? Everything's all right?
I'm doing really good.
You're looking fantastic.
You too.
This is a guy that's a really nice guy. Our guest
Really
today
nice guy.
is a great actor, of course. That goes without saying, but one of the fucking good guys, you know?
One of the good guys. Somebody that I go back with before Sopranos. One of the many people that, we worked together on stuff before the Sopranos. Graduated from SUNY Purchase, part of the Purchase Mafia. With Edie Falco, Bill Sage, Kirk Acevedo, Robert Burke, Parker Posey, Stanley Tucci, Wesley Snipes. All these people went to Purchase.
Amazing.
His first feature film was a really great movie with Edie Falco called Laws of Gravity, which I saw when it came out, and I was blown away by it. Also with Peter Green, Adam Tracy, directed by Nick Gomez, who directed one of our episodes, Sopranos. He's appeared in close to 100 different films and TV shows, including Rambo, Panic Room, Zodiac, Major Crimes, 24, Law and Order. Was a regular on Nurse Jackie opposite Edie Falco. Appeared in 13 episodes of The Sopranos as Father Phil Intintola. Please welcome Paul Schulze.
There he is. Hey, Paul, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. Good to see you, both of you.
Really, really good to see you. So, the Purchase Mafia, who was there when you were there?
My God, every one of those names that Michael mentioned were there. Stanley, I think, was maybe had already graduated. He was definitely a few years ahead of us. And so, but he was kind of this legend. So I think his last year might have been my first. But Wesley Snipes was my RA one year. Actually wasn't my RA. He was an RA of the floor that I was living on as a unpaid resident. And he graciously reminded me that, they were asking about me to please keep a low profile. He was just a sweetheart. Anyway, but yeah. I mean, he was the DJ at some of our parties and all that stuff.
So for some people that don't know, SUNY Purchase is a state university of New York college.
It's in Westchester, about a half hour north of the city, or give or take. And it's an art school, particularly focuses. That's one of its main focus. Performing arts is its specialty, and very hard to get into. It's very competitive. And a lot of great people have come out of it, and directors as well. Abel Ferrara went to SUNY Purchase as
Hal Hartley,
Nick Gomez, Danny, how do you pronounce it? Liner, who directed The Sopranos. Did we meet on Handgun? Was that the first time we met?
It's so hard. I kind of felt like I even knew you before that, for just personally. But yeah, I think that's the first time we worked together. Right. And with Whitney Rancic directed us in
Whitney directed it with Seymour Cassell and Treat Williams and Johnny Ventimiglia.
And my God, oh my God.
Arthur in that too.
First time I ever met Arthur Nascarella. And I don't know how I'm spacing on this man who I love so much from Nutley, New Jersey. Who was our
Frank Vincent.
Right. I can't believe I'm spacing on that. Frank, who ended up playing my father in another movie where there's a scene where I come upon his body. He died in the factory we worked in, and the scene starts off with me crying over my dead pop, and I kiss him goodbye. I'm murmuring to him and stuff. And after they said cut, the director, Frank, I kissed him on the mouth, and Frank whispers to me, "You're the real thing, kid, but don't ever kiss me on the mouth."
That is great.
Yeah.
When Law and Order happened, how far were you out of out of SUNY Purchase then? Was it several years?
It was a couple years, and I have to say, when I went to SUNY Purchase, I was a crazy young. I used to say I had an active youth.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Manhattan. I never heard of the league auditions. When I went to Purchase, I was not in their very esteemed conservatory. I never even heard of it. I was there for liberal arts. I was in the regular college, but that's where I met people like Edie and Bobby Burke, and I acted just in underground theater in Purchase with some of these guys. And I started studying with a guy named David Garfield, who was one of the main mentors in their conservatory program. But I studied with him privately in New York after Purchase.
Right. As I saw Laws of Gravity when it came out, and it really blew my mind because it really made its mark on the indie film of that time, because it was very, it inspired that whole handheld running and gunning stuff that they started using on TV after that. But it was really the performances, particularly you, Peter Green, Adam Tracy, Edie Falco, and it was Arabella Field. Right?
Yep.
I mean, just the acting was phenomenal. Nick really captured something very real and raw and gritty. If any of our listeners and viewers haven't seen it, really make a point of checking it out because it's very special. And so that was a couple of years out of school. And you guys, had you kept in touch with like Edie and Nick Gomez?
I had. Nick was, my friendship with Nick actually bloomed more because of Laws of Gravity. He saw me when I was at Purchase, and he just knew I was kind of a knucklehead that reminded him of some of these guys that he based this film on, that he grew up with up closer to Boston. And so he asked around about me. He said, can Paulie act? He knew I was already the kind of character he was looking for. And then people vouched for me, and he offered me the part. But and then of course, our friendship really bloomed from that. But that was, I guess, almost 5 years after we graduated. I graduated in 85, and we shot it in 1990. But there was already a little underground movement. We started a little theater company down in Soho out of the same production company whose first film was Laws of Gravity. It was called The Shooting Gallery.
Shooting Gallery.
Oh, Mike.
Which Bob Goss, right?
As well. Yep, Bobby Goss.
And Larry Meistrich started that. And Bob Goss was at Purchase, I think. Yep. If I'm not mistaken. Yep. And did you work with Edie at Purchase? Did you do plays with her?
I can't remember if I ever. It's funny. My first memory of ever meeting Edie was on the mall at Purchase. I'd seen her in a play, and I worked up the nerve to approach her and tell her how amazing I thought she was.
What did she do? What play? Do you remember?
I won't be able to remember. They always gave her these, she always played the old lady or they didn't really know what they had there with her. Not that she wasn't, they knew she was phenomenal. I think it was some kind of classic Lower Depths or something like that. And she was just amazing. But then she reminded me, she said, no, that's not the first time we met. The first time we met was in the laundry room of the dorms. And she said, I was doing my laundry and you were a little lifted. You came in the room. You said hello. You sat behind me and asked me if I wanted a massage as you started to massage me, and I was too afraid to speak. I have no memory of it, guys. None. But I hope the massage was good. I think it was all right.
Paul, so how'd you get the audition for The Sopranos? Tell me how that started.
It was because David Chase told me it was because of Laws of Gravity. He loved that film. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's how he that's why he approached Edie. He's a fan of that film, Laws of Gravity. And so the first time I auditioned and then got called back to play, something like, is it Mikey Palmice?
Yeah.
Which was ironic, Steve, because he was a junior. Wasn't he one of Junior's guys?
Yeah, he was Junior's right-hand guy the first season. Al Sapienza wound up playing him.
Right, and I guess he gets killed in the swamps.
Yeah, at the end of first season.
And so and it's really amazing. I mean, my father was a Lutheran pastor in New York City.
Oh, really?
But I was acting like a tough kid in the neighborhood on the Upper East Side for years and years. So here I go into, and I played kind of whatever gritty kind of people, but I went into, so here I am auditioning for David Chase and The Sopranos to play this Mikey Palmice character. And he said, Paul, that was great. Thanks a lot. I'm curious if you wouldn't be interested in reading for a part of a priest. And of course I ended up getting it. And here's somebody, he had no idea who I was, but he saw something in me. And my father was a very complicated, beautiful pastor, but had a lot of demons. So the fact that I ended up playing a flawed priest,
Wow.
that David saw this, and he said, take your time, go outside. I didn't have to do anything. Of course, I went outside. I knew there was no pressure because it was like 15, 20 minutes. And then I went in to just kind of be cold, read this priest. But all I did was just think of my pop.
Wow.
And I just did that. And of course, ended up, having.
Did he tell you right there in the room you got it or no?
No, he didn't.
No.
He sent me, and it's interesting. Another little bit of trivia. I worked on a pretty terrible movie just before Sopranos, and I worked with. But the great part was I worked with. Oh my God, guys! Christopher Walken. I'm forgetting guys' names like Christopher Walken. What can I do? I'm nervous because I love you both. And at the very end of this ridiculous project, Walken said to me, you should play a priest. And wow. Then his wife is Georgianne Walken. And anyway, all this stuff comes together.
It's amazing.
A lot of serendipity. But yeah, no, he didn't tell me, but I ended up getting called back.
There's obviously there was attraction between Carmela and Father Phil. And Father Phil was a weasel. And I talk about it a lot on the podcast because he also he was a freeloader. First of all, he loved to drink. He loved to eat. He loved the gifts from Roe. Carmela, Father Phil was kind of a sleazy, freeloady guy.
He was working it. Yeah. He knew how to work it.
Everybody on set called me I don't know who coined it, but they said Father Philanderer was one name that I heard. Father Philanderer. But it's funny. You guys know how it is when you play someone who's certainly on the surface unsavory. You still are tasked to find out what you love about this guy. And it wasn't hard for me to. I was often surprised how people saw my guy as sleazy as he came off. I saw him as a little complicated and definitely trying to navigate between his vows and his just human tastes.
Yeah. I never found him sleazy. He's obviously in a complicated position because a lot of his parishioners and supporters are, criminals, and he's got to navigate kind of being there for them and dealing with who they are, which I think you did really well. Especially, the college episode, I think, was a real big one for.
Yeah, that was when they introduced my character. But Steve, you're right. It's like there was a quality about him, and it was so beautiful. They wrote it into Carmela's dialogue, where she takes him to task at one point, and she goes, "You know what? I don't know what's going on with you and food and everybody else, but you just take your sacrament kit and get away from me."
That night where he spends the night.
Yeah.
There's a lot could have happened there, and a lot that almost happened there.
Yeah.
That was a very, very, it's an incredible episode, incredible scenes, but boy, that got sticky there, man.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you.
It showed right away, just what David Chase was willing to explore. And the my gosh, I mean, he literally wrote pauses in the dialogue. That was the dialogue in some of those scenes. Pause, you know,
Oh,
just
it got very
so
awkward.
subtle.
And
Yeah, beautiful.
when she lights the candles, is it light the candles?
Yeah, and I remember he does this thing where I said something about Jesus. You know, we're getting lifted. We're drinking wine, and it's pouring rain, and
Yeah.
we're alone, and there was definitely some sexual tension that he more than played with. You know, with the sacrament, he made it kind of very sensual, but yeah, at one point I say something about if you add up all the sentences that Jesus says that are written in the Bible, it only comes out to so many, you know, lines
Yeah.
or something. And then Carmela says, yeah, it's like when you play the Beatles lyrics backwards, and it was like so ridiculous. But Father Phil really likes her, so he just listens and he ponders it and he says, yes. That's it. I mean, that's on the script. Those guys were great.
And you worked with Jim, right? You worked with
I did, yeah.
Jim quite a bit. Did you know Jim before The Sopranos?
No, I never did. But every time I mean, just everybody's got, you know, the guy was just unbelievable. Whenever I would bump into him in the street on a bicycle, he was on a bike one time, I could shout his name. I wouldn't maybe not see him for a few years, whatever. And he would be like, Paulie, how you doing? I mean, just almost impossibly loving, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's what Jim was all about. I mean,
Yep.
what do you think, Father Phil? You think with the food, you just think he didn't get home cooking at the rectory? What do you think it was?
I don't know. I think I could taste the love and it appealed to me, you know? And also I'm allowed to eat. You know what I mean? Like I didn't take, it's why and I've known a lot of priests who they drink. They didn't take a vow against drinking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it comes out in different ways. It was one of my favorite lines, actually, just watching it, was Gandolfini later with with Carmela, in that when he's like, where's all the ziti? And she said, oh, well, you know, Father Phil came by and you should know he ate. And he goes, the whole tray? And she says, yeah. And she says, before you hear about it through the grapevine, he actually spent the night, la, la, la. And he says, what did you two do all night? Play Name That Pope? And she says, you're verging on sacrilege. And he says, pardon me, I didn't mean to verge.
Great.
Tony did not like Father Phil.
Tony Soprano?
Yeah, Tony Soprano did not like Father Phil.
Yeah.
Well, he kind of...
I don't think he liked him.
I think he tolerated him.
He tolerated him.
He had no choice, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But did you were in the first season. Well, there was another priest in the pilot, I think.
Yeah, there was another priest. Somehow, for whatever reason, they decided to go a different direction. And so that was another lesson for me, right? It's like, I mean, sometimes it helps when I've lost parts, right? It's like, you never know. And
you never know.
You know, this poor guy, whoever it was, lost that part. And I ended up getting a part that really changed things for me in my life and my acting career, to be a part of. I mean, I think we all know that, right? Even
Sure.
Mike, you had done a lot already then, but it still catapulted you.
Oh, of course.
I mean,
100%.
It was such an important piece of America and the world, really, that everyone was interested in anyone that had anything to do with it.
Sure.
So, yeah.
It puts you in the industry and in the public as well.
Yeah.
And especially, it was even though it was a recurring character, it was a big character. Everyone knows the priest from The Sopranos. Every single person. It was a big character. And then you worked with Edie on, what was it, Nurse Jackie?
Nurse Jackie, I ended up being, I mean, she threw my name in the ring with that, and she threw a lot of people's name, but the higher ups agreed that I would be right to play the part of Eddie on Nurse Jackie. So I'm happy to say I was in every episode of that show for 7 years.
Ah, that's great.
Changing role for me.
That's
Yeah.
a
Did you
nice
ever
run.
did you ever get fans or people almost treating you like you were a priest from that role? Did you ever have that kind of people give you that vibe or like treat you that way?
You know, that's a great question, Mike. I've never and yes, actually, I ended up getting cast another time to play a priest in some completely different type of genre, but people have. I think I don't know. Maybe I gravitate to a little bit. You know, I mean, just like I said with my father, I've always been able to, like him, kind of convince people that the grace of God is there for them, even though neither he nor I were always so sure it was there for us.
All right.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, people a little bit. They would you know, kind of approach me that way sometimes.
Yeah, I could see that happening. And where was so you grew up in the church? If your dad was the pastor, you grew up in.
I did. I grew up. My father was there was a church on 88th and Lexington. He was the pastor of that church, and it's still there. And he was there for 21 years. So from when I was, he took that call to New York when I was 7, and from 7 to 14, I guess I would say I was certainly a church goer, and I mean I was under the yoke of my folks and wanted to not disappoint them, and had enough fear of my pop that all that hung in. But that kind of fell apart by the time I got to be around 14, and I started to get, you know, kind of a little more wild, and you know, I was testing.
Sure.
You don't seem like a wild man to me, Paul.
You know what, Steve? I'm happy to report I am not.
You don't seem like.
Being wild kicked my ass.
You had plenty of that. You know what it's like. You don't need to do it anymore. Right?
I don't need to do that, or even try to control anything anymore. I'm trying to leave it all alone. I don't want to fix a thing.
We're 3 old men now.
Isn't that
Somewhere
right?
along the line, we're old men.
And I know you guys, I don't want to, you're supposed to ask the questions, but I just want to say real quick, like, you both, and I'm going to be someone who is going to really enjoy watching The Sopranos from the beginning to the end. I've probably forgotten more than I can remember, if that's possible.
Oh yeah,
so
me too.
rich and dense, right? It's just phenomenal. But I just knowing I was coming here, I just flashed on just moments, and I know you guys hear it all the time, but I mean, you were both just impossibly good on that show, impossibly great. Both of your of your work is just so memorable. I was flashing on so many moments with you guys, and I mean, one of my favorite all time just is Christopher and Tony dragging the body. They're getting ready to throw it in the quarry, and he remembers that you're using, and he's so fucking disappointed. And it's just, and the humor, right? And he says, what the fuck? What are you doing? I guess I can curse. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, this can all be yours. This is all going to be yours, and you're throwing it away. And here you were. All of this is getting rid of a body.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just so layered.
I know.
And I can't remember when it is, but I know you guys are like eating, Steve, Bacala, and you guys are eating. And about, I'm going to blow it, but it's about, you say that like, what is it? Not the Hunchback.
Oh, the Quasimodo.
The Quasimodo predicted all of this madness, and just the layers of and then you saying, well, and then they explore why you thought it was Quasimodo because of Notre Dame and Halfback and Hunchback, and it's brilliant.
Like the writing was incredible, and we neither one of us watched a show in 20 years until we were doing this. And now we went back, and it's amazing, and it's been just fantastic. how I appreciate it. Not that I didn't then. I appreciate it more.
It's better than I thought it was in a
I
way,
love the
because back
Melfi
then
stuff.
we were so in it, you didn't have
Yes.
any kind of separation, and like having this distance and time and looking back and really and examining it very closely, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
And all the performances and how good everyone was, and the writing, how
Yes.
funny it is. If you got time, you should, which I assume since we all do,
I
but
got nothing but time.
you should go back and take a look. You'll be
Yeah.
pleasantly.
I saw a few. They re-ran them, started running them, I guess, like free or something for HBO. Somehow it was on my TV a little more, and I just started. And it's like anything. It's really like some of those. It's like The Godfather. You're like, I'll just steal 10 minutes, and then the hour is over.
Yeah, it's
You
so
cannot
good.
turn it off. You can't look away. It's amazing.
So good.
I
So
know.
good. Paul, I couldn't thank you enough for doing
Thank
this,
you.
man.
Thanks for
Really,
coming on. It's good to see you.
So
You
great
too,
seeing
both
you.
of you. Thanks
Hopefully
so
I'll
much.
see
Best.
you soon. You be safe, my friend.
You too. Be safe, fellas.
Take
Thank
care
you
of
so
yourself.
much.
All right.
Thank you very
Excellent.
much.
So good to have you.
Really good.
Paul
man.
Schulze,
Thank you very much.
a.k.a. Father Phil Intintola, in the house today talking Sopranos.
Great. Such a good
very
guy.
cool.
Such a great actor. Let's take a break. We started the podcast. We promised people to have the cast, the crew, the directors, the writers, everyone who made the show a success. Right? That's what we said to our fans out there, that's what we're going to have, and we've delivered. And today we have one of those jobs. It's an unsung job, but it's one of the most important jobs.
On The Sopranos especially was critical. This is part of our comprehensive approach to behind the scenes. You're not going to get a more well-rounded behind the scenes glimpse of The Sopranos than on this podcast. No way.
Correct. And there's so many little jobs. A lot of times I don't even know exactly what everyone does. As we've seen, as we've talked to people, we learn every time we talk to interview someone, we learn something different. And today we have a location manager, and he also was David Chase's assistant. Now,
That's
if
right.
you think that's not a tough gig, think again, my friend. Because David's so busy and had a million things going on at once, just to be able to keep up with him is a very difficult job, And then he got into locations and was associate producer.
Right.
And then
I worked with him last year on Lincoln Rhyme Hunt for the Bone Collector.
he was on locations for that.
Yes, he was. Yes.
And then Boardwalk Empire, New York Undercover, Men in Black 2. So this guy's been around. He's been in the business. I think he stepped out of it for a minute, and then he came back, and he's a good guy, always was a good guy, did a great job, and I got a whole lot of questions for him. Let's bring on Mr. Jason Minter. There he is.
Hi, guys.
There he
Thanks
is.
for having me.
Hello, Jason.
What's up, buddy?
How are you? Nice to see you guys.
Thank you
It's been
for
a while.
coming on, man.
Everything's
My
great,
pleasure.
man. Good to see you. So, first of all, you were David Chase's assistant, and then you got into locations. Tell me
No,
how
I
you...
think it was the opposite, right?
It was the
you-
opposite, yes.
opposite.
I was in locations for years, and I was an assistant location manager for Mark Kamine on The Sopranos. And then I got a call to come up to David's office one day, and I thought, oh, fuck, I must have lost the script or something. And I went into his office, and he kind of stood there looking at me for about 20 seconds. I said, my assistant is leaving. He sort of burst into it. I've been thinking about you. You're mature. And people think highly of you, so I'd like to offer you my assistant position. And I said, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could maybe do that job. I had been, on set for years and in locations, and I had never really had a real office job. I mean, locations partially is, but I said, can you let me think about it for a day or two? And I could tell he was immediately annoyed that I asked to even think about it. But I had to, because I had been on this trajectory in one way, and then I was, turning it around. So I took the job eventually. And
And was it more
I was
money?
happy that I did. No, it was actually initially less. Henry Bronstein tried to pay me less, as you know, as an assistants are paid less than assistant location managers. Assistants to producers and what have you. So I had to fight for that, and then finally, I said, I remember telling Henry, I said, Henry, I just don't want to make less money. Just if I can make the same amount of money, I'd really appreciate it. And he made it work eventually. So.
And you took over for Julie Ross?
I did take over for Julie Ross.
Julie Ross is the boss. That's what she used to say.
That was David's assistant. But it goes to show you how well respected you are on the set, because obviously being David Chase's assistant on The Sopranos is a very important job, and one that requires a lot of trust and respect, like you said. So it speaks to your character, I think, that you got that job. So
thank you.
Yeah. And were people kissing your ass all the time?
Things did change. I remember that I don't know. I was always pretty well liked on the show. I got along with everybody. But yeah, there was a difference. I could have any lunch that I wanted. I could, buy as many office supplies as I liked. I mean, these are little things, but
a lot of perks.
And then a lot of perks. And then I was in charge of like decorating the office, which was this huge loft-like space at Silver Cup Studios. And I eased into the position. It took a while. I mean, I edited after season 4 every single show with David. And I had to, rapidly take notes while we watched episodes. I learned later on to record what he said because I just couldn't keep up a lot of the time. That was a lot of fun. There was a learning curve. I remember, misordering an episode with scenes. So it made absolutely no sense. It was like the first or second show that I edited with him. And he looked at me and said, "It's all fucked up." And I said, "I'm sorry, David."
What do you mean misordered? What do you mean?
In other words, I put like a ridiculous, I thought that he'd meant for me to, let's say it was, Tony coming out to get the newspaper, but in reality it was supposed to be a scene at the bottom being, I ordered the scenes wrong. They were in the wrong sequence. And it just made no sense. It was ridiculous, and he was angry.
Giant fuck up.
It was, yeah. It was just on one cut, but we did, gosh, I don't know, sometimes 10 cuts a show. So we could watch them over and over and over and over again in his office. I'd pull all the black curtains across. I don't know if you guys remember those, and we just sit there in the dark, just he and I watching shows over and over and over.
Oh my God,
again.
that you probably wanted to shoot
recut. Was it like drastically recut? Like you'd change orders of scenes and juxtapose scenes and all that kind of thing,
or shoot new scenes entirely. So that I'm sure you guys remember the offices where the editors were in Santa Monica. So we would I'd take notes on. We'd get the director's cut in initially. We'd watch that together. He might give me a couple of notes during that first seating or first screening, but he'd need to think about it a bit, and then we sit down a couple days later and we really get into it, and he would make massive changes, and sometimes he would pull scenes out of one episode and put them in another episode. There was no there were no limits, but yeah, I watched the shows many times.
So let's just for the people out there that don't know, so when a director directs the episode, he has the right
first cut.
He gets the first cut, right? And that's part of his deal, his union deal, the DGA, Directors Guild. He gets the first cut. He cuts it for a week, whatever the number is. He hands it in to David and you. And then does it ever stay intact? No,
never. I mean, I remember he was, Alan Taylor, the director, who's obviously incredibly talented and directed some of the best episodes of The Sopranos. I remember he had this beautiful shot. I can't remember the episode, of this diner in Jersey City. It was like this gorgeous shot, and then another cut in to another beautiful shot, and David just threw them out. And, like, he did not care about, it was sort of script first, obviously, to him. And I remember Alan being really upset, like, why do you get rid of these shots? But he did things like that constantly. He knew exactly what he wanted. He would then change his mind and know exactly what he wanted again and again. But he never doubted himself, David, when it came to cutting those shows. It was pretty amazing to watch.
Wow.
So it was always all about the story for him, first.
Always only about story and script. Yeah, really. I mean, of course, acting and the performances, those were important. And but yeah, story came first for sure.
Jason, so now we shot them. All the shows were shot. They were in the can. They were finished, and then they would start airing. So say episode 1. When does David start cutting that?
Well, he'd get a rough cut in. I mean, he might. Yeah, sometimes actually, now that I think about it, like an editor's cut would come in before the director's cut. That would happen occasionally, and he'd get right into it there. I would say, after the show wrapped, we'd get a really rough cut about a week later, because remember, they're getting footage every day when we're shooting, and they were just cutting,
they're assembling it, and cutting, and getting everything in order. Now, you're watching these episodes over and over. Didn't after a while you just want to fucking shoot yourself in the head?
I don't know. I mean, it was, when I watched them, new things would emerge. I mean, the show was
as great as they are, you want to go, Jesus, it's monotonous, no?
Yeah. I see where you're coming from. I guess to some degree it was, but, he would make these tiny changes, and I wish I had an example that came to the top of my head. These tiny changes that would really just change the entire mood of a scene or even an episode. I mean, how he ended those shows, too. Really
brilliant.
I don't know. That was very, very important. Yeah.
And now, did he praise me whenever I was on screen, how great I was? Because Michael doesn't like to hear that. Michael doesn't like to hear that. So tell me,
I don't mind.
Was David saying, boy, that fucking Schirripa, is that Schirripa? He's wonderful. Did he say that?
Probably. No, I'm sure he did. Why not?
There are some other actors that he was not so happy with sometimes, but no.
Really? Like who?
I mean, well, you remember, I think it was a very good performance, the Joe Ganiscoli performance when he is begging for his life, and David cut almost all of that out. I think he might have cut all of that out. Joe was very upset by that, but David didn't give a shit. I can't remember why he did that, what the thinking was. But I mean, for example, when Vince Curatola was, when Johnny Sack was dying, he was supposed to lose a lot of weight, and he didn't lose any weight. And David was furious about that. I remember these funny little moments. He was supposed to lose weight, just flailing his hands around.
I remember one time. I shot a scene in April with Aida, with Janice. It was Bobby and Janice in the kitchen, and I got called back in July to reshoot the scene. They changed the dialogue and stuff. And I came into Silver Cup, and David looked at me and he went, "Do you have a tan?" And I went, no, I don't have a tan. I mean, I thought I was finished. I mean, yeah, I had a tan. It was the summer, And he fucking snapped at me, and I went into makeup. I said, "Try to lighten me up the best you can, man."
That's very funny. In July. Was that the lasagna scene? Or the ziti scene?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
I don't think so. It was another one.
Okay.
But, so he's commenting as you go along. It's got to be very interesting. You got to learn a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like you said, very subtle differences. Sometimes cutting out of a scene a little sooner, a little later, cutting to something else and changing the image. You're cutting from one image to another. It speaks volumes sometimes, I would imagine, right? Yeah.
And his musical choices, too. We would try pop songs or pieces of music over and over and over and over again. For example, what was it? It was, who's the famous poet? This is the episode where, I can't remember the name of the actor. Bobby Fanaro hangs himself. Remember in the opening, that opening had this amazing piece of music.
That was season first
5
episode
or 6B or 6A or something. Yeah, it was. Why am I not Drugstore Cowboy? Why can't I remember the name of this famous poet?
William Burroughs.
It was William Burroughs' voice over this pop piece of music, which was really incredible. But there were other choices there too. There was a live version of "Dreaming," the Blondie song that we played over and over again. Remember when Joe Ganiscoli is holding his pants out, he's lost all this weight, and there's this big montage getting us back into the season. Anyway, so I watched that. I watched that sequence with the Blondie song, I don't know, 20 times before it became the William Burroughs piece. But anyway, yeah, we tried many many pieces of music too, which was really interesting to see. Because David never, he hears a song once and he never forgets where he heard it, how he heard it. He remembers everything when it comes to music.
Now, when was he ever happy when he finished the episode? Was he ever, like this is
I
it?
think he loved it.
Yeah,
I'll never forget the scene when Tony is falling from Melfi and he's watching Prince of Tides. Do you guys remember that? And he's watching Nick Nolte talk to Barbara Streisand, and Tony's really getting into it, and he has this goofy look on his face. And I remember David just erupted with laughter. He said it couldn't fucking be better. It couldn't be better. It's impossible for this to be better. Like James Gandolfini's performance was so hilarious and perfect. And there were many moments like that. I mean, David loved to laugh, loves to laugh.
He loved to laugh. He loves to at silly things sometimes too. That just get, a lot of times when I spent with him in the writer's room or wherever, just like sometimes the silliest things and we'd laugh a long time about them.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the fun things about working with him. He's a great sense of humor.
And a wonderful sense of humor. He and I share an immature love for bathroom humor. I mean, there's a little bit of that in Sopranos. Remember when Adriana had IBS? And so there was a scene where she actually had toilet paper attached to her shoe, to her like high heel, and she was walking around. Anyway, that got cut for whatever reason. But Denise, David's wife, despises bathroom humor. So as often she would sit on these shows when we were cutting them together, and she just had no patience for like any sort of bodily function humor. And it's funny hearing them going back and forth about it.
So when you were his assistant, were you privy to a lot of actors and actors' agents trying to get on the show? Because we've heard there was a lot of that.
There was all sorts of that stuff. I mean, we got calls all the time, but we were pretty well shielded from that. I mean, there was another curtain before us. There was this moment sort of comes to mind. Before I was David's assistant and I was Mark Kamine's assistant, who was the location manager, or one of his assistants, I should say. Remember we had that open casting call in Harrison, New Jersey?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was in charge of that.
Wow.
It became absolutely insane. Like thousands and thousands and thousands of
You
people
never
showing up
expected
at the high school.
10,000 people showed up or something like that? Like
so many people showed up. We were about, I don't know how many miles from Manhattan, 10 miles, 12 miles from Manhattan. So many people showed up, it affected the traffic in the Lincoln Tunnel.
Wow.
And I'll never forget looking up and seeing a SWAT team run across a roof across the way before we like shut it down. And I went to Georgianne. I'm like, Georgianne, we have to shut it down. Like it's just too much. And I had these guys in like 3-piece suits, like shoving $100 bills in my pocket to try to get up in front of Georgianne and Meredith. And it was absolutely insane. It was insane. Thank God nobody was hurt.
And dolls. And, there were people wearing like black suits with the white tie. I mean, there were people with plastic machine guns and shit. It was hilarious. I've seen photographs.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was pretty scary though. Seeing like these SWAT guys running across the roof and like the police just converging in on the whole thing and us shutting it down. When I heard it affected the Lincoln Tunnel traffic, I was just amazed.
People
really
drove in from other states, like from like drove like a day away or 2 days, and they got there.
Only Ginny Sack, right? Ginny Sack.
That's right. Denise Marino. She was the only one. Yeah,
only one that made the cut, right?
She was. God rest her soul.
Yeah,
she was a character.
I started, people would stop me on the street after that, and I'm like, I missed the open call. How could I get in there? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm sorry. Like that was their big shot, and they blew it. They missed the open call. What do I got to do now?
Was that a publicity stunt, Jason?
No, it was, I mean, Georgianne took it seriously. I guess it was a combination. I can't remember where I got my marching orders from now, all these years later. But we had shot in Harrison and Kearney in that whole area, so I knew all the cops there. So I guess it was just, it just was sort of natural to put me in there. But I don't know. I don't know if it came from HBO initially. It probably did. But
they were, Georgianne and Sheila took it serious. They were. They were looking for, and they found.
Yes.
They found Denise Marino.
They found Denise, and she did a great job.
Yeah,
she did.
So explain to people out there exactly what a location guy does.
Well, the location manager and his team, generally there are 2 assistant location managers, and there are a number of location scouts, location assistants. The location manager sends people out to find specific locations in a script. For example, when we get a script, we break it down. We look at all the locations: hospital rooms, Soprano house, City Park, and so on. And we break it down. The location manager breaks it down based on what we have on our built on our stages, and he then sends the scouts out to look for these places. Hopefully, I mean, if it's not a full day at one place, then we need to find another location, within a short truck move nearby. So we shoot this park scene here, and then we shoot this restaurant scene over there. So the scouts go out and they find those things, and then the assistant. So then the pictures come in from the scouts. They get shown to the director and the designer, and then they say, "All right, we want to go see this one, this one, this one, and this one." And then in the case of The Sopranos, sometimes it was Mark in the van with the director and the director of photography and the designer. Of course, it was usually Bob Shaw, Phil Abraham, the first assistant director, Michael DeCasper, or Mark McGann. Anyway, we get in a van and we go physically look at these places. And then, the director would would either say, none of these work, or these 2 work, or whatever. And then the assistant managers usually come in and then make the deal with that house or that business and say, I'm going to offer these X amount of dollars. I need this many hours, etc.
Were you there for season 1?
I was, yeah.
So did you see, after the show aired and the show became a hit, how was the people's, the interaction with the public? How did that change? Because in first season, no one knew what the hell it was. Right.
No, I didn't even know. I didn't know who James Gandolfini was.
Right.
Yes, I remember. Well, we hired these off-duty Newark police as a security detail, and they were pretty hardcore. They were tough guys. We had a bunch of them with us at all times. Of course, we had people yelling like "No fucking ZD," like chanting it at places. People got very excited. Of course, people wanted more money, but that was understandable. The show had more money, although you wouldn't have known it in season 2. I remember Henry made all these initial cuts. Like we had less money in season 2, and I never figured out why. But anyway, it was a strange time.
So Jason, for example, and I've been doing this a long time. What are we talking? What kind of money? What kind of money to? I mean, I
these
know
days,
yeah. What kind of money?
Well, this is it's so many years later. But I mean, if we were to buy out I'm buying out
a deli.
Restaurants right
I own
now.
a deli say I own a deli in Harrison. You want to shoot there for half a day? What are you going to pay me? I'm going to close up for half a day. Yeah,
I'm going to offer you $6,000, and if you go up to 10, fine, then you'll get it. You'll also be fully insured, et cetera, et cetera. And then if we need
and if I own a house, same thing. Come to my house.
On the
shoot in my house.
Caliber of the house. I mean, we've got houses on the show I'm working at now where they're $25,000 a day. They're mansions,
Really?
Big houses, elaborate houses, estates,
big elaborate
Like
houses. Yes, right, exactly. $20,000. Yeah, things pay a lot better than they used to. That's for sure.
$20,000.
What was the most expensive location that you remember booking or that we booked
on Sopranos?
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, you see, I ended my tenure. I mean, my location work ended at the end of season 4. I think Whitecaps was my last episode being on set, which was, to me, like I had the time of my life on that when we were shooting at the beach. It was wonderful. But I don't know. We probably paid that house on the beach $10,000. Back then, that was a lot of money. You would have paid that house $4,000 or something. It was $10,000.
But were there like landmark locations, famous places that that you had to really pay for? I don't remember. Nothing's coming to mind specifically.
The Sopranos house obviously was very, very expensive because those homeowners knew that we had the money and we needed the house. There was couldn't get around that. So that, I mean, I think all told, he probably got more than $250,000 over the years. Probably $500,000.
They're still milking that fucking thing. Those owners, they still milk.
They were selling, but I don't know if they ever sold.
They milk it. I mean, I remember at one point they were selling the blueprints.
Yes, I do remember
blueprints were for sale. I remember them having cocktail parties. Do you remember
Yeah.
that when we shot out there? They would invite their friends over in the backyard and had to take pictures
Yeah.
with their friends. And the thing, that's another big thing location guys got to do. The people always want pictures with the actors, right?
You have to schmooze, and it's different now with COVID. You can't.
But I mean,
you
we're
can't, but
talking
back then.
in a real world,
Sure.
What about when we
Yeah.
had to go in the city, like Mulberry Street, Little Italy? Would that be expensive? Is the city more expensive, or those kind of locations?
Yeah, I mean, because you're blocking other businesses, and then people come out, and then they want money. I mean, when we were on Lincoln recently shooting in Newark, we shot on a block, and I think I got out of there. We were there for half a day. I think I had to pay $9,000 more to various stores because people came out screaming that we were blocking the street. It just happens all the time. But of course, higher end stores get more money. Museums, hospitals.
Do people go, I don't give a fuck about the money. I just want them to shoot here. I don't care. You ever come across that?
Yeah, I mean, I have I have the show I'm working on right now has Alec Baldwin in it. And I guess he played John DeLorean in a show, and one of the houses we're shooting at, the guy owns a DeLorean. And he's like, I don't want the money. I just want to get a picture of Alec Baldwin with my DeLorean. I said, I don't really think I can do that. I don't, especially, during these COVID times. So things like that happen. Oh, sure.
And
People always wanted.
I've always heard stories about they're shooting in the street, right? And some guy was blasting the radio out the window on purpose, his stereo, and he's doing it to fuck up production, and because he's holding you hostage. Do you come across that a lot?
All the time. Yes. In my early days, when I was the second unit stunt effects location manager on New York Undercover, I remember being down in the East Village. There were squats, those abandoned buildings that people had taken over. And these guys started blasting music out of a window. And I had to go make a deal with the elders. They were called the elders, where I bought them like a case of beer and gave them like $300. And they said, all right, we're going to shut all music down. About 3 hours later, the music started blasting, and I looked, and it was like a young guy blasting. And I said, what the hell happened? And I went and looked for the elders, and they were all drunk. And it was a new guy who wanted money. And the elders couldn't help me anymore. Yeah, exactly. And shit like that happens all the time. I had people do it on purpose. They know that they can get money out of productions a lot of the time.
What was your first job in show business?
My first job, I was the craft service PA on a short movie called Pepito's Dream. That was pretty awful. But I was given the chance to become a location scout on Law and Order. I had worked at Tower Video on the Upper West Side, and I worked the information booth, so I could hold videos for people. And I also worked the Ticketmaster machine. And this guy named Mo Bardak came in, and he was an assistant location manager on Law and Order. And I would hold videos for him, and we became friends. He's like, I'm going to give you a shot at scouting. Here's what you do. And he gave me these half-assed directions, and I never forget, I shot closets and bathrooms. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, but I slowly worked my way in and out into that. I was making $160 a day as a scout, and I had made $5.25 an hour at Tower Video. So even if I worked
did you
want to
go into? Was that your plan? You wanted to go into film, or that was just an out of the box idea from this guy?
No, I had gone to School of Visual Arts. I had left early. That's a long story. But Mo was wearing a Kojak jacket, I remember. And I said, oh, you work in movies. I was obsessed with movies. I'd go to sets and I'd watch shoots and so on. And that's what I really wanted to do. And that's how I got in. Yeah, I worked a day here and a day there for a while. Some weeks I didn't work at all. I had to quit my tower job because I had to be available for when Law and Order needed me. And that's...
Yeah, but look at that. I mean, you out of the goodness of your heart, you're doing this guy a favor. You're holding videos for him, and you got paid back with that. I mean, the way things happen, right? We've talked about that before. Sometimes you meet people in your life, the least likely people help you. You're not even looking for it, really. And, you did the guy a good turn, and he did you a better one,
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy, and I'll always be indebted to him for giving me a chance because I would have had to slowly get in another way. It was hard back in the old days. We worked 16 or 18-hour days as location assistants. We worked, there was no overtime. I'd get to Newark at like 4:30 in the morning. I'd be there till 11:30 at night.
Wow.
No oversight. People would be screaming at you. You couldn't, there was no HR. Nobody gave a shit. I had left the business for a while, and I opened this restaurant that I ran.
Now?
Well, I don't know if they gave.
You
they
can't
have
yell
to,
at
though.
people. You get in trouble now if you yell at people, right? Now you can't yell at people. Back then they could abuse you, and
I was abused a lot. It was hard. So when I opened a restaurant, I ran the restaurant for 10 years, and I came back to the business again, and I was like coming out of prison or something. It was like a different world, like how things worked, and you can't work over 12 hours, and no one can yell at you or make you feel bad or make fun of you, and it was just very, very different from what I was used to. I guess I'm old school. I don't know.
It's funny, right? Yeah, it took some big upheavals for people to respect each other. Do you still have the restaurant?
I don't. I left it a couple years ago. It was really hard. Yeah, it's a 60-seat neighborhood joint with a 6-seat bar.
Yeah, I went there once. It was on the Upper West Side, right? On the
at the very tip of North Manhattan in Inwood.
Like Inwood, right? Yeah, Inwood.
Yes. Really pretty spot. I love it. It was the hardest thing I ever did running that restaurant. Harder than anything I had ever done on a movie set. I did it for 11 or 12 years. It was quite an experience.
So, Jason, you were privy to a lot of stuff before, obviously. You knew who was getting killed. You were privy to, when you were David's assistant, you knew everything.
I did.
No?
I did know everything. I did, and there's a lot of responsibility with that. And then there were leaks. There were issues where the National Enquirer would find out about, Christopher's death, for example. And we tried to sleuth that stuff pretty hardcore. We had attorneys from HBO in, and because I had been a location manager, I knew the crew. I tried to figure out who that person was, and I had narrowed it down to who I thought it was. I found out only about 3 or 4 years ago who it actually was, and it was a department head, and I never would have guessed that.
Really?
But he made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of giving secrets up to
hundreds
tabloids.
Of thousands,
hundreds of thousands. Of dollars.
Really?
Like $50,000 a pop, $70,000 sometimes. Yeah,
And this was the Inquirer back in the day.
This was mostly the Inquirer. I don't remember any other tabloids, but
and there was nothing.
Did you get approached by the press? Did you get approached and asked for information or offered money? No,
they never came. No, they never got to me that way. No, I was annoyed. I was not annoyed. I was a little nervous at one point, thinking that, does HBO think I'm doing this? Because of course I have
a feeling who it was. I think I know who it was. I'm not going to say, but I think I do.
Yeah,
I have my suspicions.
And you thought it was somebody completely different, huh, Jason?
I did. That person who I thought the person who I suspected might have done a couple of things, because you would connect the dots. You would look at the photograph, who was on set that day, who was that close to.
Who's a scumbag?
The main actor, who might be a scumbag. It really drove David crazy. He got how secretive he was with the scripts. I mean,
at the end, we were just getting our own scenes. You didn't even have the script at the end. I wasn't getting a full script. Wow, wow, that's incredible, man. You know a whole lot of stuff there with. You were privy to a lot of things and phone calls and behind the scenes stuff, even more so than us,
Maybe in a way. I'll never forget that day. You guys all came upstairs. Remember there was all the controversy about breaking the last season up into 2, and then there was a huge break. You remember all of you guys were in the conference room smoking, and John Ventimiglia was all out of his mind, and it was something else.
that was ugly. I called that 12 Angry Men and Women.
Yeah,
it got a little ugly there. I mean, it just and it was hard because we're trying to stick together. It's hard to put even 12 people that care for each other or whatever the number was. It's hard. That was hard to stick together, right, Michael? I mean, that was almost impossible.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out because everyone was making different amounts of money and had different kind of deals and different managers and agents, and just trying to do it, trying to, stay together, but also, you want to protect yourself and what you're getting. And
that was, got a little ugly. Yeah, it got a little ugly there.
You guys were always very, I was going to say, you guys were always very kind to me, You were always,
you were a good
pleasant.
guy. You were a good guy.
Well, I know that I could be associated with David, who you guys were sometimes angry with. Jim too. I mean, but he was always. I mean, he would get David on the phone. He would bark at me sometimes, but it wasn't personal.
Yeah, he did some barking. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, in the heat of production, it's tempers fly, and you lose.
Sure.
It's stressful. Come on. And then the show was such a hit. There was a lot of pressure to be great all the time.
Yep.
It's not easy, without a doubt.
People are working long hours, it's amazing to me on sets, people are driving into work. It's taking them at least an hour. Then you're working 16 hours, come 14, 15, 16 hours in the heat, in the cold. It's amazing more people don't snap at each other. You know, it's amazing that people keep it together because, especially crew guys, you guys are working your fucking asses off, man. It's a good job, but a really hard job.
Yeah. And we were shooting what, like 9 months? It took about 9 months to do a whole season for us.
It was a long time
haul.
The last 9 took about 9 months, right?
Yeah, those are huge.
And reshoots and recast and,
I'll never, it was a really wonderful group of people that I work with. When I was in that van with like Phil Abraham and Michael DeCasper and Kristen Bernstein, Bob Shaw, and whoever the director was, Tim Van Patten especially, we had a really good time.
All good people, yeah. Well, Jason, I could not thank you enough for joining us. You gave me a whole lot of information. I want you to come up to my apartment and take pictures. In case things go south, I'll rent out my fucking place. That's all.
I feel the same way.
Things go bad for me, you could use it as a location.
And you could take pictures with him. Tell him they'll take as many pictures as you want with Steve.
Okay.
No problem.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
You take care of yourself.
Very informative.
Okay. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
There you go. I learned a lot there.
Yep. Good stuff.
I always wondered how much they make for location. It's
Very
like a dirty
interesting.
little secret.
You have an
Jason
idea
just told
who
us.
sold us out? Do you have an idea?
I have no idea. I really don't. I have no idea.
I do.
You do?
I absolutely.
You going to tell me off camera? Or is it going to be the 3 o'clock thing?
No, I'll tell you off camera. I'm not telling the audience, though.
Well, you're not
I'm not gonna accuse someone publicly without proof.
You're not a stool pigeon?
No, but I have an idea.
Yeah. All right, you let me know.
Department head.
Let's take a break, and then you could tell me maybe.
All right.
All right, here we go. How are you, by the way?
Great. I'm good, man.
Weather's getting nice.
Weather's nice. We're in New York. It's spring. Can't be better than that.
It is beautiful out there. Things are getting a little loosened up, a little better. People are in a better mood.
Better mood. You're in a better mood.
I'm in a little better mood.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Weather's good. We wrapped Blue Bloods. We got picked up for another season where my daughter got married. Everything's okay. And don't forget, our book, November 2nd.
November 2nd, woke up this morning, an oral history of television's greatest show.
So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be a great book. Today, we got Season 5, Episode 6, Sentimental Education.
That's right.
April 11th, 2004.
411-4, which is the same thing backwards, 411-4. There's weird numerical things going. Do you believe in numerology?
No. I don't believe in any of this crazy stuff.
You need to really widen your horizons, buddy.
There's
way more in heaven and earth than meets the eye, Horatio.
You want me to start messing with numbers, cards, mind readers,
numbers,
ghosts? Come on, man.
Listen,
I got enough problems.
Every culture has, numerical significance and interprets numbers in significant ways.
Well, didn't Nancy Reagan, wasn't she into?
She was into psychics and stuff.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, come on.
Spiritualists.
It's hard enough to get through the day. You got to throw all these,
that's why you need
all
help.
these wrenches in the thing.
Start
in
using
my
numbers.
engine.
Sentimental Education refers to the novel by Gustave Flaubert from 1869. He also wrote Madame Bovary, which they go into. Sentimental Education is about a young man who falls in love with an older woman. Did you ever have that kind of May-December romance with an older woman when you were a kid?
Yeah, I was like 22, and she was old, man.
How old?
33.
But that was a
Back
big
then was a big deal.
that's a
She
big
was old.
deal.
She was divorced. Yeah, we had a little thing.
Yeah.
But it was, now 33, you go, Jesus. I mean, she was
that's a kid.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So this is episode 6 of season 5, but it was produced as number 7. Matt Weiner. This is the second out of his 12 episodes that he wrote. It's the only episode directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who we had on the show, director of 35 films, The Last Picture Show, Paper Moon, What's Up Doc, my favorite, St. Jack, historian, author, wrote 20 books, film critic, genius.
When we did this, I'm in it very little, just at the beginning, at the dinner table, and I remember he kept calling me Bobby. He didn't.
And you don't like that.
I didn't bother.
You don't appreciate that, though.
Well, I mean, come on, you can know my name. I mean, but he kept calling me Bobby. It's okay, instead of Steve, and I didn't say, hey, I could have been a prick. And when hey, Peter, my name is Steve. Bobby's the guy I'm playing, but I didn't do that. But what happened was he placed me somewhere at the table.
Is that your house, that scene? Is that Bacala's house?
I believe so.
It is, right? Because Janice
Yes.
cooked, right?
Yeah. And Bobby, he placed me like in the middle of the table. And David came down, and he was kind of,
Because it's your house.
what are you doing there? He said to me. And I went, that's what Peter told me to say. That no, you're at the,
Head of the
table. And, he just started moving people around, David. He didn't ask. He didn't whisper. He just, no.
David was the boss.
No, I hear you. I'm just saying.
But to David's credit, that was the right move.
Of course.
Because it's your house, you're going to sit at the head of the table. Janice is at the head of on the other side, right?
Absolutely. We start out at Kim's Laundry. Tony B walks out with 2 bags of laundry. This is where he's working. He's gone straight. He doesn't want to be in the mob life after getting out of jail. He opens the back door. It pulls away. He runs after. He falls. Bad scrape. Scrapes up his leg. Somebody robbed the laundry truck. Kim's Laundry.
Henry Yook, a friend of mine who I met through my buddy Steve Zisk. Henry, you've worked with him.
Yes, on Blue Bloods. We had a
classic New York actor. He's done a lot of work. He's worked with Woody Allen, Radio Days, and Zelig. He was in Pope of Greenwich Village, Kundun, The Departed, Law and Order. And
he's got a thicker New York accent than he was born in Brooklyn.
His character is that's all his character accent.
Got a thicker New York accent. It's actually hilarious, and he's a terrific actor and a nice guy. We did a lot of work on Blue Bloods. We had a really big episode together.
Yeah. He's like a quintessential New York actor.
Yeah.
Like he's done so much work. He's done a lot of theater and
I
lots
think he
of
still
film and
lives in
television.
Brooklyn guy.
I think that's. I saw him. He came to. I did the Brooklyn Book Fair. I did a reading there, and he came. And
he's a regular guy. He's not
lunch.
an actor-y guy. A regular guy.
Great guy.
Does good stuff.
And does a great job in this episode.
Good work.
Yeah. He calls him Blondino, which I love. Hey, Blondino.
Why you fuck me like this? I no forget you professional criminal. So he's blaming him. He doesn't believe him. He thinks it's a setup.
That's a setup with Tony Soprano. He said the only reason you're here is because I need help with the unions with Tony Soprano. He shows him a gun. I'm no pushover, basically saying, and he's very suspicious.
As normal, I mean, and he's saying, though, you really think I need to rob you and scrape up and do this if that's what I was going to do? Really, what are you robbing?
Yeah, a bunch of dirty laundry.
laundry.
And also he's busting his ass. He's working very hard.
He's working very hard.
Which comes
Getting up
into play
early,
later in the
early
episode,
in the
too.
morning.
Yes.
Tony's house. Tony and AJ eat breakfast. They're out of cereal. What? No juice either. AJ got a bad. He needs a fucking attitude adjustment. This
Well,
kid.
he kind of gets it here. He's talking about there's no cereal, no juice. You don't know the difference. The maid doesn't know the difference between fruit roll-ups and Pop-Tarts. It's like, it's also, I think, a contrast between Tony B and Tony Soprano. This little petty problems about cereal and juice and shit. Tony B, who's really kind of struggling to make a living here and busting his ass and working really hard.
AJ's 16 years old. He's not a baby.
He's not a baby. And he says, coming home drunk sounds like you, which is really out of line.
Yeah. Talking to his father, he gets him up against the wall. Said, someday I'm going to kick your fucking ass. What's wrong with right now? I'm surprised Tony is as patient as he is with him. You know, he picks up the bowl, he throws it, with the cereal. So now you got nothing. And he's saying, make a list. I'll reimburse you. Tell me what you want. Make a list. I'll have the girl pick it up. What the fuck? His mother waits on him and wipes his ass for him.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. Yeah. Okay. Soprano bedroom. Carmela's looking at dresses in the mirror.
That's the Angels listened in. That's Johnny Maestro on the Crest. The Crest also did
She's
16 Candles.
dressing for a meeting with the teacher. Here we are. Robert Wegler's office. Carmela arrives. She's got a dress, very low cut.
We've never really seen her that revealing,
She's
sexy
going
and
in for
revealing.
the kill.
She's going in for the kill.
Not
She's
really
smitten.
attire to go meet your kids.
No, she's smitten. She's very, attracted. She's talking about it's a midterm crisis. He plagiarized an essay. And she's saying he spent the entire Saturday afternoon at the library. She, mother, she believes her
She's
son.
believing you think my son cheated.
Blaming the teacher, Mr.
Anyone
Fisk.
else shows improvement. He gets a gold star. Not my son. He gets his act together. Suddenly he's a cheater.
Right, and she's saying discrimination bias because of Tony Soprano, basically.
And, of course, it's not true. And he says, what about my offer for dinner? He goes right in for it.
He's got to read Animal Farm and Lord of the Flies, which a lot of high school kids read those books. To be honest, I didn't read either one of. Did you read those in
No,
school?
I think Lord of the Flies years ago.
I didn't read either one. I did read Orwell's 1984, but Down and Out in Paris and London is one of my favorite books. That's a good one. Really good.
What, he's a little out of line going, the teacher going after the mother.
Yeah.
I mean, why is he swimming in this water? I mean, the biggest mobster in New Jersey, you're fucking around with his wife. They're not divorced.
I think he's stupid.
I mean, what are you fucking around here for? There's a lot of other women, and I don't get it.
Hey,
He's also very arrogant.
You also know how, sexual attraction can make people stupid.
For sure. Why would you be interested in someone like me? She says. You're unpretentious. You say what's on your mind.
Right. She has, I have a big mouth. I speak my mind. And then she says, my husband, that's a problem. He's like, this day and age, if a husband found out, I doubt he's going to break the guidance counselor's legs. She's not so sure about that.
She blames Mr. Fisk,
Yeah, and that's a classic move. They blame the teachers too hard on him. He's got an issue with him, which does happen, but AJ doesn't really work that hard. No.
AJ's a fuck up. He's a spoiled brat, and he's spoiled by both of them. And Tony, everything's he thinks AJ's like it's a joke. He's laughing all this off, kind of. It's not that important to him.
No, he doesn't.
Later on, we see with the cheating, he thinks it's kind of okay.
He doesn't have high expectations for him, scholastically, obviously. He kind of thinks he's a, average student who's just going to, or less than average, who's going to wind up, I don't know, doing
16
something.
years old. He lives in this huge house. Got the drums, he's got the world by the balls. He's got the new truck coming. College, does he really need college?
Right. Probably his father's going to stake him in some business somewhere, right? Eventually,
So family dinner.
So this is at the Bacala's house, right?
Yeah.
And Chris and Adriana, Barbara, the sister, and Tom, the husband, Gwen, this is Tony B's girlfriend, Gwen, played by Allison Bartlett, who I thought did a great job as Gwen. She was famous for she was on Sesame Street for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for many years.
Is that where I know her from? 'Cause
Yes.
she looks very familiar.
Yes, Sesame Street and Elmo and all that.
And no more?
I don't know. Maybe
I worked
still-
with Elmo.
I'm not sure. I know you did.
Did
you guys get along?
We got along just fine. And I also, my favorite was the rat. That was
rat.
the Muppet. You know, the Muppet.
I know that guy from when he was studying acting. The guy who does that.
Really?
Joey Mazzarino. Yeah.
I'm a fan of Muppet Sesame Street. I think it's good stuff there. You know.
It is good.
Oh, that's where I know
Allison Bartlett. Yeah.
Wow.
She does a really good job as this character. It's a very specific character, and I really liked what she brought to it.
Janice made lasagna. It's not so great, but you need something in your stomach.
Bad lasagna is really bad.
I mean, how could you? But really, how bad could it fucking?
It can be horrible.
I know, but why? Why should it be horrible?
Bad
It's not
proportions, shitty ingredients.
It's not hard.
Overcooked.
Well, Janice is a fuck up, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
She doesn't really care that much.
She doesn't care. They let you post an ad.
Yeah.
Gwen told us how you met.
Chris
They let
is,
you use the
yeah.
internet in a can. He says, "Boy, I'd like to read some of that shit. I bet it's hysterical."
Chris finds that very funny. And then he, Tony B's studying. And Chris is kind of impressed that he's working that. He said, well, Tony Soprano said it's kind of like a gym test, which it's not. It's very hard. No. It's about anatomy and a lot of technical
Vascular
terms.
Physiology.
Yeah, it's hard.
Chris tells him, keep your eye on the tiger.
Yeah, he says that one thing I learned in recovery, other people's definitions of you sometimes are more about making themselves feel better. You got to define yourself, which... Obviously, he learned in rehab and recovery, but there's something true to that, you know. People sometimes want to, see you fail and try to,
Sometimes.
Often, right?
Listen to me.
You've seen this many times.
I believe.
Why does this not surprise me?
I believe.
You have something to say about this.
Well, I believe that most people, I hate to say this, Michael, most people, you got a handful of good friends that really want to see you do well.
Right.
And then you've got most people want to see you fail.
Right. Well,
they want to see you fail. Well, and it's human nature also to, they'll say, hey, Steve met a woman. He fell in love. Really, that's great. Or Steve's getting divorced. Do you know what I'm saying? Or your bad news travels faster. People like the bad news.
But you also see it in showbiz where, like, say something like The Sopranos, and a lot of the actors were not that known. You're everybody's favorite. Breakout, kind of underdog, success story. Then they can't wait to knock you and see you.
Well, they had it at the end of the show. Don't you remember? We were in Brooklyn somewhere doing something, and a guy came up to us and went, now what the fuck are you guys going to do? Like, we were done.
And here's the answer. We're doing this Webby-nominated podcast.
Remember when he said that? He was like, now what are you going to do? Now you're just another schmuck like me. That's what he meant. They don't want to see you do well. So you got a handful of friends, and this goes in any business. They make believe, your business is doing great. You're very successful. They don't want to hear it. They want to hear bad. Oh, your business went out. You went out of business. Oh, all right. That's just how it is. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and that's what he's saying. And what's it? There's just a shot of Adriana watching all that, which is, which was a good shot, I guess, that Peter, added there. Just a little shot of her watching.
And what do you think that means?
It's just to kind of keep it in her mind that she's got other things going on, that she's hiding this huge secret. At least that's what I read into it.
Gotcha. Vesuvius.
This was a great
scene.
I love this scene with Father Phil and Carmela.
Carmela has lunch with Father Phil, who we love.
I should ask Monsignor Bava, his nephew at Kmart, to get the huggy. Very specific, very funny. And then Phil's eating, which he loves to do.
He's a freeloader. You know who's picking up this check?
Not him.
Not him at all. The priest is a lot of priests are freeloaders.
A lot of priests. This guy certainly is. And Carmela, this was a bad move on Carmela.
She says, the funny thing is I was sure he was gay. He sort of reminded me of you.
And he gets cold and hard here, man. He does not want to hear.
Well, that's a complete insult.
Bad move, though. bad move even without the insult.
I don't know why she's going to him. What is she's feeling guilty
Because she
she's
knows that
having
he's
feelings?
attracted to her.
Of course, they almost had sex.
They almost had sex. He's jealous.
You know, if you want to discuss this, I think we should include Tony in the conversation as well.
Not what she wants to hear.
Touche. It's none of Tony's business. Who knows what he's been up to, and not just during the separation. Why did God put this man in my life? Is it God who put him there, or there is a particular need you have right now, which is to obviously get laid?
And she says, I never understand this. Didn't he put the need in me? And great, Matt Weiner, great writing, this scene. He really nails
He's
it.
very
Why are you
jealous.
sounding hostile? I'm not. Perhaps it's your sin talking. Great. And that moment when he looks to the waiter to put pepper on, which is like just to kind of like shut down the conversation. He's almost like the Pope there, just like
That's your sin talking.
Yeah, great
scene. Two great actors. Edie's exceptional in this.
Edie is and Paul does a wonderful job in this scene. I love that scene.
Kim's laundry. Tony
locker
B
room.
studying in the locker room.
Endomorph. You know what that is? It's a kind of a round body type. That's what it means.
So I'm an endomorph. Is what you
I don't know if it refers to men and women or just women. I'm not sure.
So this is early in the morning. It's 5:15. He says, I'm still not on the clock yet. That's very early. You got to be at work at 5:15, 5:30, whatever you start. You got to get up at 4
I
o'clock.
guess the
in
laundry
morning.
business, they start
Sure.
early, man. It's
Tony B walks into the office. Kim, he's got a very rough, demeanor, Kim.
yeah.
He's not very pleasant, not very polite.
No.
I don't think he means anything by it. I give you a hard time about my truck. The cops found the kids who took it. He says, you study hard for massage.
He's basically apologizing, although Tony doesn't take it as such, but he is kind of saying...
First thing I get stuck with you, I think, oh, shit, God damn it, he's lazy American and a criminal. But you work for Kim in the future. That's why I'm going to try to help.
He's impressed with this guy who just got out of jail, who's connected up the wazoo with the mob, who's studying really hard to, better himself. That Kim finds that admirable.
She says, I got a shitty business with a fucking 3-year lease. My daughter's interested in massage. You passed tests. He said the daughter doesn't like physical therapy. It makes her sad to people, trying to come back.
And now she just stays home and watches TV or something, right?
And then she looks pretty good, as we see later on.
Yeah. He says, I showed up. I had no money. I showed up only with new shoes and my uncle's address,
And he wants to stake him. He wants to put Tony B in action.
You, me, and my daughter make a big success journey, And Tony B is excited.
Well, sure. Why wouldn't he be? He doesn't want to do the mob stuff. Though he hangs around with them as part of the family, really, those are the only people he knows.
Right.
But now this is a shot for him. Tony, AJ, and Carmela talk in the living room. He has to move back here. It's got to be with your full approval. I don't see why the two of you can't work this out between yourselves.
And Tony wants him out.
Yeah,
Tony's had enough.
He's had enough. Bouncing him back and forth.
It was a good idea on paper, but in reality, it's just Tony doesn't want to deal with it.
He says, I don't want to live in a place where people use violence against children. I could call social services, and they'll send the caseworker.
He's using this as like a trump card, and Tony's saying, it really pisses him off.
He says a son of mine would consider calling in the authorities. We got ground rules. If you're going to come back, I want you to be I want to be in your life more, she said.
Well, she felt, we've seen scenes in the past where he was just ignoring her and there was no conversation, and she just felt... School
first, no cursing, and involve her in his life. Pork store, the back room. Tony B and Vito go through flashcards. Vito's helping Tony B how to study.
The muscles attached to the coracoid structure, which is like the scapula in the shoulder. It's a hook-like structure, and he's trying to help him, help him study. It's a tough test. These are hard things to learn them.
And Paulie, of course, why do you want to do this shit?
Paulie, where the fuck is my Tupperware? That was a great line.
So you could touch a bunch of strangers? Why do piss and shit and fucking all happen within a 2-inch radius? And Vito says they're all sources of pleasure.
Yeah, that was a little much.
Vito, Paulie's always got, Paulie's obsessed with all this crazy
Bodily
shit.
functions
Yeah.
and cleanliness and germs and things like that. Yeah.
Tony B gets emotional. It's like being an immigrant, being in prison, And Paulie, of course, remember Pearl Harbor, which makes no sense. Kim is Korean, not Japanese.
Paulie often makes no sense.
Tony Sirico, I don't think you were there. We were at the Peninsula Hotel
In Beverly Hills?
in Beverly Hills. We were out there for one of the award shows, and we were upstairs, and Tony would always go, yeah. And don't forget, Saturday, pina coladas by the pool. Pina coladas by the pool. He loved that, Pina coladas probably from days he went to Florida,
Right.
kind of, and so we're up there. It's Nicky Sandow, a buddy of mine, John Manfilati, who's a comic and an actor, Johnny V,
On the pool, on the deck there?
on the
Yeah.
deck, and it's like a little later in the afternoon. We're having a drink with this bullshit.
It's beautiful up there. You see
Beautiful
view
on
of
the roof.
LA and
5-6 hotels, and then
Cabanas.
Johnny V's there. He's got his crazy hat on. He's got a Guinea T-shirt on, and Sirico's, holding court, telling us stories. Then he goes, word to the wise, and I swear to him, we all lead in like he's gonna give us this great fucking
nugget
advice.
of wisdom.
Yeah, he goes, word to the wise. So we all kind of move in like E.F. Hutton, and he goes, Johnny, cut that fucking hair under your arms. You look like you got two cunts under there. You got to snip, 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 snip.
Now that could be Paulie Walnut's
I
line,
mean,
right?
we laughed for fucking, we thought like what he
Yeah.
was going to tell us. He's telling Johnny V his underarm hairs are too
Too
long.
hairy. But that could be Paulie's line, right?
Of course. Snip, snip. It's like you got two cunts under there. Boy. Would you ever tell a guy to cut his underarm
No,
hairs?
I never have. I probably never will.
Robert Wegler's car. Robert and
Well, they're coming out of the restaurant there. That's the Mayfair Farms in West Orange. He's a gentleman. He's opening the door for her. She's nervous like a teenager.
And she's got the doggy bag. They make it in fancy restaurants. They used to do it, make it a swan.
That's the easiest thing to do.
yeah?
That's why.
You
Yeah.
know how to do that?
Yeah, I used to.
Well, it's not easy to me. I never did it.
Well, it's easy.
But
believe me.
so you walk out with the swan. I remember the old
Walk
days.
out with the swan.
That's a thing.
He gives her a Madame Bovary first edition modern libraries because, like the book, Madame Bovary probably came out in the late 19th century. But even the first edition modern libraries that came out in 1927, that's probably worth a couple $100. So it's a nice gift.
Nice gift. He's sitting there. She's very uncomfortable. He goes to the back. He says, take it easy. She says, sitting in a car with a man, not really knowing what to do. I don't do this a lot. He gives her the gift. She's very nervous. It's very awkward. Tony is probably the only man she's ever had sex with, you think? Do we know this?
It seems like it. It certainly seems like it because they were together since high school, right? Yeah. And she's also very religious. I don't know if she's becoming a little more, actually in this episode, a little bit more broad-minded in terms of those things. But I think probably as a teenager, she waited till marriage. And that was also a generational thing, I think, to some degree, right? In that world.
In that world, but those are the days when you didn't live together. You lived with your parents until you got married.
Right.
There's a lot of that. Back then.
If you're not married and you live together, you can't sleep in the same bed at your parents' house.
Well, that's what my views are. Exactly. But, I lived with my wife. I'm a big believer in living together because, dating and going home at night and living together.
Two different things.
Way
different. Yeah.
You're seeing the most intimate, personal moments of someone when you live together. You know what I'm saying?
It's a whole other thing.
And now when a lot of people, they never had sex in the old days, and they, had sex that night, and maybe one likes it more than another, and that could be shitty. That's why you live together. I'm a believer in the living together,
It's like a trial run.
That's what I think, because if you want out, you get the fuck out before you get married, right? Robert's house, he kisses her in the car. They start kissing.
And then they're making out in the house.
And they're going in. They're going right for it there. She's very obviously.
They have sex.
They're into each other. They continue on the couch. They're both lying in bed. Carmela's naked, goes to the bathroom. He says, "How was it?" The fuck's he got to ask her that for? How was it?
He's a little goofy.
What are you going to say? You were a terrible lay.
It was okay. That's even worse. Right?
Yeah.
It was all right.
It was fine.
Adequate.
I mean, what kind of answer? You're fishing for compliments.
Yeah.
You were great. You got the biggest salami I ever fucking saw in my life. What do you
Saw
want to
this
say?
week.
Yeah. Well, you're so much bigger than Tony. They go out. You're a virgin. He says, he makes a joke. You're a virgin. This is my lucky night. She's happy. She's reading the book as she pees.
Abelard and Eloise, which is from 1100, I think.
She talks about AJ, which is kind of weird.
Really weird. Really weird. And,
He says all our students matriculate. I mean, kind of weird. I mean, he does fuck the teacher. And she's talking about AJ, who's a troubled student. Kind of odd.
It's it's complicated.
Is there do you think, on some subconscious level, she's banging him to help AJ?
I think that's at play. I also think she's attracted to him. He's cultured. He's smart. He's sensitive.
He's
a
everything Tony's not.
He's everything Tony's not. And yet, does she really want that at the end of the day? I don't know.
Soprano house, Carmela comes home, sneaks into her room. AJ's awake. She has a glow about her. After you get laid.
Oh, she's got a
for
glow.
the first time in a long time.
This is a big deal. Like you said, she probably only slept with Tony.
She sneaks into downstairs, opens the cabinet, grabs a gun.
Well, she sees that picture of Tony and AJ, which is the same picture that AJ, when AJ finds out his dad's a mobster, and I forget what episode it was, Meadowlands maybe?
Yeah.
When Meadow tells him, he looks at that picture. It's the same picture. Why is she going for the gun after looking at that picture?
I don't know.
Does it remind her that she lives in danger? That picture?
There's no man around the house to protect her.
There's no man around the house to protect her.
She looks at the picture. She's not afraid that Tony's going to do anything to her.
I can't imagine that, no.
And, she puts it under the pillow, which is very dangerous to put a loaded gun under your pillow.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree.
But she's got a glow about her. When you're younger, like you picked up a girl at a club, years ago, like when I was a teenager, and then you got laid. That next day, you're feeling your oats a little
sure,
bit. Right?
Of course.
You're feeling a little puffed up. She's feeling good about herself. Testing room, Tony B takes the test and waits for the results with Gwen.
He struggled on this test. He worked really hard. He wasn't sure, but he passed. He gets his license. He worked hard. He earned it.
A lot of work.
A lot of work.
Kinesiology and all kinds
Not
of
easy.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had some of those classes. I was a phys ed major.
You had to take
Brooklyn
what?
College. Physiology, anatomy,
Yeah.
and it's like, what the fuck? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not easy.
Not easy.
I had a friend of mine who was taking a test. Okay, he didn't. The guy's name was Frank. I went to college with him, right? And he was a sharp guy, really slick. And he had a makeup test. He wasn't prepared.
On what course?
It was like kinesiology, something
Kinesiology.
really hard, or anatomy. And so he was taking it in the teacher's office at college, the professor's office, by himself. Okay? He was all alone in there, taking it by himself, no books, no nothing. There was nothing in there. What did he do? He picked up the phone. There was a phone. It was at her desk. And he called another professor.
To get help?
Professor Chisholm. And he just said, "Hi, Professor Chisholm. I'm at home. I'm studying. Can I get some questions for you?" And he, unbeknownst, the professor was giving him fucking the answers to the test.
And he passed with flying colors.
Brilliant. Brilliant cheating. Brilliant display of cheating.
That's a good idea.
Write that down.
I'm writing that down right now. Good idea. So
Carmela-
that was at Brooklyn College?
Brooklyn College. Professor Bill Chisholm.
But you passed the class.
I passed
You
the class.
graduated.
I graduated, yeah. Professor Chisholm was like a sports trainer.
Did they call him Professor Jism as a joke? Because
Well, they will now.
Like
I don't think so. I never heard that, but they would now.
it kind of sounds like that, the way you're pronouncing it a little bit.
Carmela's in the confessional. Now,
Another
listen,
bad idea.
Now, if you need to go to confession, my suggestion here is to go to the next town over. Okay? Go to the
Yes,
next town over.
yes.
What are you going? Of course,
Now,
it's
when was the
Father
last
Phil.
time you went in there, in that box?
You know, I want to say maybe when I was married. I just had my 32nd wedding anniversary.
That's congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, in showbiz years, that's like 90,
Yeah.
32 years.
32 years. So I want to say that probably that was it.
Did you have to get confession to get married in a Catholic
I
church?
think there might have been something
Wow.
there. I don't
Wow.
remember. There might have been something there. That's probably the last time I went into the box.
Yeah.
You know, probably.
And she should. This was a bad idea. You know, she's going to, and she's. Not only is it a bad idea, now she says she had sex with the guy.
Yeah. What is she telling him for?
And Phil is Father Phil is just
Carmela? He says Carmela. He knows it's her right away. I always thought as a kid, like I've said before on this show, I thought they didn't know who they were talking to.
Oh, they know.
I always thought that. Could you imagine what these guys know?
Can they see you, but you can't see them? Is that how that? Is it a one-way thing? That,
Nah,
that
I don't
screen,
think they
or
can
what is
see
it?
you. They can't see you. I mean, you got that thin thing, but do you know what these guys must know?
Yeah, I don't
Could
want
you
to know.
imagine the shit that they know?
Yeah,
You get a corrupt priest, look out. You know what I mean? He finds out you're banging somebody. He goes to them and says, "If you don't bang me, I'm going to spill the beans to your husband."
wow, look at this situation.
I had sex with that man. You sound remorseful. I am. I'm also confused. Something in me has just reawakened.
Like passion.
And even if it never happens again with this man, just knowing that feeling of passion again, I don't know if it's ever going to go away. I need it.
I can't absolve you of a sin you're going to continue to commit. You need to show resolve to change. You took a vow. Will he be there to help you in your old age? And she says, well, will Tony? He says, your penance is you got to do something kind for Tony.
It's crazy. Crazy.
Tony,
What's-
who has girlfriends and hookers and
Up the
whatever,
wazoo.
all the time. Yeah.
She's walking around like
Strippers.
Maria in West Side Story, which is one of my favorite movies.
It's a great movie.
Now, when I was young, I didn't realize these guys were doing pirouettes in the schoolyard. I thought they was like a legitimate gang back then.
Did you really?
Well, I was young. I think I saw it when I was 6 or 7 years
Yeah.
old. I loved it. And
It's
I love
great.
it to this day. I watch it every time it's on.
It's
but
fantastic.
I thought these guys were like tough guys, and now you see they're pirouetting and sashaying, and
They're dancers.
I understand.
That's the whole point.
It's
It's fantastic.
and now there's a new one coming out. Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg.
There's no way in the world it'll be as good
No.
as the original.
No,
I mean, it might be good.
He's
There's no
taking
way
a
it's going to
big
be as
shot.
good as the original.
Ansel,
the original one's perfect. It's just perfect.
yeah, just so good.
And my favorite
I saw it on
character
Broadway.
is Rita Moreno is my favorite in that movie. I think she won the Oscar for that.
Yeah,
Best supporting actress.
Yeah, she's got an EGOT,
She got
right?
all those
Emmy,
awards.
Grammy, Oscar.
and a Tony. Two
Yeah.
Tonys, I think. She
She played my mother in
She
Nikki
played her
Deuce.
mother. She's a great actress. That's a perfect movie. What was it? Sondheim wrote the lyrics, right? And it was Leonard Bernstein wrote the music. And
I
Jerome
love that.
Robbins did the choreography. Did he direct it as well, Jerome Robbins?
I don't know that.
But
I
it's just
love the
fantastic.
beginning, like we talked about.
Ah, the best.
You said your grandfather grew up over there.
Right over there. That was actually shot right before they started knocking down all those tenements.
All the tenements where Lincoln Center
right
is.
before Lincoln Center happened.
Yeah, I love that shot overhead with Yankee Stadium.
It's just the best. It's
just really, if you haven't seen it, I don't know who
and
has
the
it, but if you
music.
haven't,
The music's fantastic.
it's incredible. Just really something good. But she's walking around like Maria in West Side Story, so we know she's just on cloud nine here. Will you be there for her? Will he be there for you when you're old? She says, like you said, it's Tony.
Well, Tony, he's basically saying, look, marriage is forever. The Catholic Church doesn't believe in divorce. They don't believe in, I guess, premarital sex, infidelity. This is the deal.
Do something nice for Tony. Like what?
Pray for him.
Have sex for
if
Tony?
you can.
Have sex with Tony? What do you do?
Yeah. Pray that God will touch his heart and yours. But it's all coming from this place of jealousy.
Your father, Phil, he's a strange cat.
He's a strange cat.
And I think now priests, if you break the law, don't they have to come clean?
I think it depends on the crime.
Oh, it does.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever go in there again. Give confession.
You're not planning on it, are you?
I don't know.
Are there things you can always come to me? Listen,
confess to you?
Of course. I'm like a bank vault.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah. So
we know secrets about each other.
You come to me and you say what's on your mind, and I'll absolve you.
That's the thing. Bless me, Father, if I have sinned. It's been blah 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 since my last confession, and you tell your sins, and he makes you say a couple prayers, and you're clean.
That's it.
You got a lot of leadway. I stole something from the store. I disobeyed my mother and father.
Is it up to him, or is there specific amounts of prayers for each crime?
It's up to him.
It's up to him.
Right? Say 3 Hail Marys. Now what do you say? I did this, I did that. Say a couple of prayers, put a little something in the poor box on the way out.
Tip
and
him
we're good.
directly. I've tipped priests.
So have I.
I tipped.
They're very happy to take
Father
it.
Pete came to do my parents.
Yeah.
My parents had a 40th anniversary, so we threw them a party at Chez Josephine, and Father Pete.
You renewed the vows?
Father Pete was a great dude. He passed away a couple of years ago. Right?
I like priests that are flawed.
Didn't he?
Yeah,
he
passed away. I like priests that are flawed.
Well, he was a good
They're more
dude, and he
human
came
to me.
over. He had the church across the street, and he came and did their vows, and we took care of him, of course. For the poor
as you
box
should.
or for whatever he wanted to do with it.
Priests are, I like priests, but I like that they're flawed because it makes it more human.
Everybody's flawed.
Like rabbis.
Yeah.
They're married, they got, they understand. The thing that I don't understand is like, you go to the priest, you're having trouble with your marriage. Well, what the fuck does he know about marriage?
Not much.
He's never been married.
No.
He supposedly has never masturbated, correct? So that you're not allowed to do that, are you?
I don't know. I don't know the rules.
I don't think you're allowed to masturbate.
Oh, I think that's okay.
I don't
No?
think priests
That's
could
a sin?
Andy could
Andy.
Are priests allowed to masturbate?
Is that a sin?
I think it is.
What is it? What does it fall under?
You got lust.
Is
You're
that
not
in the
supposed
Bible?
To have lust. I don't know. I never read the Bible. I don't
Oh,
know.
spilling one seed. Yeah, I think you're right. That's in.
I don't know.
I think that's in Genesis.
Isn't it you're only supposed to have sex for the sake of
Procreation.
Correct.
Right.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Right. Good luck with that.
Kim's Empty Space. Tony and Tony B. Check it out. They've been cracking jokes. You got the dog groomer next door in case your Korean friend. It's not allowed, Andy says. No
It's not
masturbation.
allowed.
That's
For priests.
tough. Yeah.
But is it allowed for everyone else?
Oh, I don't know. The Catholics, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
If
true.
it's a sin, it's a sin.
In case your Korean friend wants some lunch, sounds like it's all coming together. Tony B, look, I know you're disappointed the way things turn out since I left the can going civilian. Here comes Amanda.
Amanda,
Kim's
played
good-looking
by
daughter.
Liza Lapira, who was also in Fast and Furious, A Crazy Stupid Love. She's playing Amanda. Kim.
Amanda, I came by to get the keys. I would have gone by the laundry, but my dad is such a hard-on at work. So maybe when he's working, he's a prick, but he's a nice guy
He's
otherwise.
a nice guy
Kim.
otherwise. Yeah.
Hey, Christopher comes in, tells, hey, there's a dog grooming case right in front of her. A little awkward.
Bad
I
joke.
like that because Christopher just makes believe he didn't say it. It's like he said it. What is she here for? Happy endings. She's Kim's daughter. Get me some Kung Pao Coochie.
And Tony B's like, this is important to me, guys. Stop fucking around. You know what I mean? And Christopher, who was trying to pump him up and give him confidence, is,
Yeah.
not taking it serious.
Very politically incorrect, this episode is.
Yeah.
A lot of The Sopranos is.
Well, I think the characters are politically incorrect.
Yeah.
It's not the show, it's the character. I mean, if you made these characters all politically correct, it would be ridiculous.
there would
'cause
be
they're
no
not.
show.
There would be no show.
Soprano Kitchen, Carmela, Rosalie, drink wine.
Sneaking around is half the fun. is what
Sex
Carmela
agrees
says.
with you. You look great.
Right.
Mr. Wegler pulled me out of language to come over my term paper notes. I didn't have my stuff with me, so he puts his faggy hand on my shoulder and says, do your best.
Yeah. It's weird, the whole thing. She's dating the teacher's trying to help the kid. She wants the teacher to help hit the kid.
She's making AJ ZD. I mean, she's telling, I know it's her best friend, but she's telling Rosalie.
Yeah. Well, she told Rosalie about Furia,
I
her
know,
feelings. And
I
Rosalie
know.
told her that she was having an affair, but although, she had an affair with her trainer, Rosalie,
Yeah.
apparently.
And
Yeah.
then Rosalie breaks down. She's thinking about Jackie Jr., and rightfully so. I'm sorry. They never caught those goddamn chinks who killed him. So she's convinced it's Asian people
Right.
who
it's
killed him. Where did that come from?
Tony Soprano.
She's, and I know that she. Deep
I don't
down
remember.
knows.
Did that come out? Did they try to blame it on
I don't know.
Chinese people? I don't remember
don't
that. Maybe
I
they,
don't know, but she can't really believe that, can she? Then they didn't find whoever did it.
No. I don't know what that is. She doesn't want to believe it.
Exactly.
You know how these people.
Street at night, Tony B and Gwen are walking down the street. A car comes flying by. They hear sirens. They throw something out the window, plastic bag.
Peter Bogdanovich talked about this on the Soprano DVD, the commentaries, that he shot this from this high angle, almost as if like the gods looking down, kind of, divide. What's the word? Defining his fate, kind of like preordaining fate for Tony B, that he's going to find this money. But our old friend AS wrote in about this episode.
Fuck this guy.
Long time no talk, boys, but I've been Trey busy, T-R-E-S, Trey busy in my corner of the world. And frankly, no offense, but a bit talking Soprano'd out. But that said, here's a tidbit for an upcoming episode. It turned out it was this episode.
Yeah, was he nominated for a Webby?
He doesn't know about that yet.
He's a douchebag.
He wrote this before. It is Tony Soprano who sets up Tony B to find the money and drugs in an effort to waylay his plans to go straight. I'm 100% certain of this, wondering if you boys caught it as well. Yours truly, AS.
Do you know something? That is such a bunch of bullshit. That really is pie in the sky bullshit.
That Tony set up
Yeah.
somebody to drive by and throw
And
this
then-
money.
And he knew that Tony B is going to pick up this money just at that time. Him and Gwen are
well,
going to be waiting.
AS is not alone in this
Wait.
idea.
And he's going to be walking. And then he's going to collect that money. He knew that he was going to throw the drugs away, have this $12,000, and then fuck everything up over $12,000. And Tony is a mind reader? I mean, how does he know?
No, that's
what
the
about,
thing.
how does he know he doesn't keep the dope and then get arrested for selling the dope?
This goes back to Tony with Artie Bucco. Artie saying him, you think out things out 7 steps ahead of everything. You know how to, that's your
And
nature.
you believe this?
Honestly, no. But I did some research. This has been on the internet. Several people talked about this and say that Tony set this up to
wrong.
undermine.
They're
'Cause he
wrong.
hates seeing his cousin go straight. He hates seeing him do something outside the family.
They're wrong.
You don't buy it.
I don't buy it at all. AS, I don't like you. I really don't want to hear from you ever again. Really, we're doing just fine without you.
He was bored with the show. He's busy and he's bored with
He's
us.
bored, jerking off. He's masturbating.
And he's not allowed.
Okay? It's a sin. I don't know who you are. I don't like you. I don't want to hear from you ever again. Don't do me a favor, AS. Do not listen to our podcast ever again.
But maybe he may be voting for us for best. But you don't want his
I don't
vote.
fucking want his vote.
You don't want his vote.
He could shove his vote right up his fucking ass. Carmela tries to help AJ with his paper.
What I loved is Gwen saying, "Oh my God, is it a fetus?"
Yeah.
Suddenly she goes there. He says, "It must be 10, 12K. You're doubly blessed," meaning he got the license, passed the test. He knows right away, 10 to 12K, and it was 12K.
And it's crank or crystal meth.
And he says, "I'm going to buy you a ring," and she says, "You got to put it in the business." He's not good with money, obviously.
No. Well, we see. It's just terrible.
It's kind of a disaster.
Lord of the Flies.
Now, I don't understand this. She's reading Lord of the Flies Cliff Notes, but then she says the piggy with glasses. But that's from Animal Farm, isn't it?
So maybe she's confused.
No, maybe it's a mistake. Why is she reading pig? Oh, maybe she's confused. I don't know. I'm not sure what was going
AJ,
on.
wake up. I'm not going to do this by myself. He's sleeping. He fell asleep. He's so bored.
She's more
Fell
worried
asleep
about
on
it
the
than
bed.
he is.
She's trying to help him. That the bada bing, Tony and the crew celebrate with Tony B.
It's also something he probably shouldn't have told anybody, right? You find this money.
He
You know
should
what
have
I mean?
never.
Never told anybody.
I'm surprised you didn't. Tony Soprano would want
Want a taste?
piece of
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
He should have never told anyone.
How
He's
many guys you
spending
got to
like
jerk off on a massage table to make that? I don't know. What do you charge without the table? Good line. Funny joke.
He's got the worst fucking. He buys the worst, ugliest suit.
Hideous clothes, ugly
Shoes, horrible jacket, horrible.
Gambling.
They say from now on it's known as a blendetto. When you step in shit, when you get lucky, it's going to be called a blendetto. They're all celebrating. He's throwing money around. He's spending already like a drunken sailor.
Horrible.
Champagne in a strip club. We know what that costs.
Cristal. Is it Cristal?
Probably
right?
costs fucking
$500.
$500. They're all joking. They're laughing. I wouldn't have told a soul.
No.
I'm with you.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Restaurant. Carmela and Robert eat. Romantic.
Another high-angle shot.
Corner table.
Courtesy of Peter Bogdanovich. My man in French, mon homme, however you pronounce that, Edith Piaf. That's, I believe, Holiday made the English version famous.
She feeds them ice cream.
Yeah, nice high angle pushing in on them. Cool shot by Peter Bogdanovich.
Soprano kitchen. Carmela peels cucumbers and daydream. She's daydream. She's thinking about.
His cucumber.
Yeah.
She's peeling it.
She's got a smile on her face.
She's got a smile. She's listening to Over the Mountain, Across the Sea by Johnny and Joe. She's listening to 50s music. It's like she's this romantic vibe that she's been creating in this.
She's thinking
living in
about
this episode.
Robert. He calls. I was just sitting here thinking about you. What are you wearing?
Tony shows up and kind of breaks her out of this romantic reverie.
What are you doing here? She's not very nice to Tony. He brings over the paper AJ cheated with. He bought a A+ term paper off another student. Wegler's reading Cold Mountain by Charles Frazier, the Civil War romance story, which was popular around that time. You know, Wegler is saying, what are you wearing? He's got a hot cock, Robert Wegler. He likes her. But I'm saying he's in the middle of the day. He's got a cucumber. He's a horny fella. He's a horny fella here. As we see later on, and then Tony's talking about, what's this guy want? He's gay. He's a baloney smoker. Tips me off. They go in pretty deep here. She says, you know what? Maybe you're gay.
Right. Maybe you're a fag. Why? Why do you think he said because of education and culture? And what's your fear? Maybe you're everybody's gay because you're afraid that you're gay. And he says he calls her on her shit. What part of hell did you say they go to? The same as the abortion doctors and child molesters. And she said that was a long time ago, and now she's much more open-minded. And he kind of, to me, this is him marking his territory, right? He takes off his clothes and goes as a pool. He doesn't, it's
he
still his
doesn't give
house,
two
and he doesn't
shits.
give a shit.
That's like a friend of mine was getting, he was getting divorced, and he moved out of the house stupidly, and then he found out, like in the neighborhood, his wife was having like a little party, some people over, and he went right into the house. It was late, it was later on. He was drunk, and he just opened the door, and there was about 6, 7 people. His wife was having like a party in the house. He knew some of them he didn't know. He just went right to the refrigerator, got a beer, and he just sat down.
Just to say, it's still
It's
my
his house. It's his house. He bought it. He built it. They weren't divorced, and he just went right in. I thought that was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Very awkward. I wouldn't. I don't know if I would do it, but he just sat there on the couch.
Yeah. That's kind of what he's doing there, Tony. Marking territory.
She's pissed. Takes her shirt off. She's pissed. She's different world here. I don't know. She's is she a hypocrite or is she learning?
Listen, her husband was terribly unfaithful, hurt her time and time again. She's trying to, go on with her life. She's trying to make,
She's also,
happy.
her husband's also a murderer, and she knows it.
That's another problem.
The casino. Paulie,
He's got his suit, his custom suit, his alligator shoes. He's gambling. The dealer is played by Kimberly Guerrero, who was on Seinfeld, played Winona.
Oh,
Remember that episode?
The dime store, the
cigar store Indian episode.
and he doesn't want to say you're an Indian giver.
All right. That's the same actress. She originated the role of Jonna in that the play August Osage County. She did it with Steppenwolf in Chicago. She did it on Broadway and in London. And she plays the dealer in this scene.
Paulie, the Tony B, that's a beautiful suit.
It's a hideous suit.
Horrible material, horrible color. Eugene, the only thing I ever found in the street is my first wife. Everyone laughs. And once again, politically incorrect. Pocahontas here is scalping us.
Right.
They're at an Indian casino, and of course, Paulie. Horrible suit. Robert's house. Robert and Carmela kiss in bed. Carmela sits up. What's the matter? I just keep thinking about AJ and that girl's paper. It's a common thing, Carmela. He just wants to get laid here. He's placating her. He doesn't stop as she's talking. I mean, how hopeless would you feel if it really worked on something and still got a D?
He's driven to cheating because of Mr. Fisk and all that pressure.
I have thought about this all day. He wants to get busy with her.
And she can't right now. I'm too upset because of her son. And it's very complicated. She's too upset about her son, yet he's the guy who can help her son. It's all messed up.
She's a big enabler with AJ, obviously. And he's got one thing in mind, Mr. Wexler. And she leaves.
She says, under the laws of the church, I'm still married.
It's very, it's raining. It's very romantic. Rain
Storm
pouring.
outside, yeah.
He's inside. And what do you think he does? He probably went inside and played with himself. Mr. Wexler, after she leaves, he's all horny, and she leaves, so I would
so the next best thing, that's what you're saying.
probably went and
Watch the porno movie.
maybe he watched a porno, I don't know. Or just,
The Sopranos, that was a real porno movie.
really?
I think they made several of them.
Was I in there?
Probably,
Were you in there?
yeah. I wasn't in it. Somebody played me.
Oh, yeah?
Well, played a version of Christopher. You never heard of this? The Sopranos?
I don't know if I did.
Oh, yeah. That was a long time ago, but during the
Who
run of the
played
show.
Tony?
A porn star.
Jeremy, what's his name?
Jeremy, Ron Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy?
I don't think he was
Did
in
he
it.
play Tony Soprano?
No, but I met him at the. I think Jim knew him. We were at
Well,
the bar at the Peninsula, and he was there
well,
one
he's
night.
in jail for like fucking raping.
He's in jail.
He's in jail for like raping like tons of fucking women. He's been in jail, and blah blah. See you later. I think that's the end of the dance for him.
Well, if you rape people, it should be.
Unless he could open up the lock with his cock, he's done.
Probably can't.
But the sport has, so the guy that played you, are you happy with the
I didn't
size of
see it.
his
I did not see it.
manhood?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it.
No, I heard of it.
Oh, okay. So now
Oh, I'm going to sit down and watch this thing? That would be.
see who they have playing you.
I really don't care.
Was Bacala in there?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
I bet you. I'm curious now.
Somebody, I think there was definitely Christopher and
Sopranos.
Adriana. The Sopranos. Andy, isn't that true? The Sopranos.
Andy's got it.
We got Andy hopping today. Sorry, Andy, about all this. Yes, it's true. There it is. Okay.
Andy, do you have that DVD? Kim's Laundry. Tony B gets dropped off after an all-nighter. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch is right. Hold Me, Kiss Me, Thrill Me by Mel Carter. Great tune.
You sure you don't want to eat?
He's dropped off by Paulie, Christopher, Eugene, and Vito. They're all going
To steak and
to
eggs.
the diner. Right?
Paulie says steak and eggs, and then he's going to go to sleep for 14 hours. So they're gambling. They went to Connecticut
They got drunk.
to the Indian casino. They
drank.
drank all night, and now they're coming home and steak and eggs and go to sleep.
He's got to go to work.
He's got to go to
horrible.
work. He's got that terrible.
He's got to work hard. Hard labor.
Mr. Fisk classroom. Robert arrives.
Wegler's pushing for a C. The world and Fisk doesn't want to cut him a break. The world needs ditch diggers too. He's basically saying AJ's kind of a fuck up.
Well, he is.
And he doesn't deserve a C because he doesn't do anything. And
And then Robert Weckler, the strong arms Fisk, into giving him a C.
And he says, Fredo Corleone can get a C because you asked. Fredo gets a bad rap. A lot of people, yeah.
Oh, that's now in the vernacular of American culture. You're Fredo,
And what
It's
a
like
great
Murphy's Law,
Just a
Murphy,
great
yeah.
performance by, John Cazale, who didn't do a lot of movies, but they were like
I think everyone was nominated.
was a
yeah.
masterpiece.
Incredible.
Godfather 2, Dog Day Afternoon,
Day
and Deer
Afternoon.
Hunter.
Incredible. You never
And
met him, huh?
No, I think he passed away before I was.
Then
even
he
as-
was with
as
Meryl
an actor.
Streep, right?
Yeah, just tremendous. He did. India Wants the Bronx was an off-Broadway play by Israel Horowitz, whose son is Adam Horowitz in the Beastie Boys. But Al Pacino, and John Cazale were in that play together off Broadway. It was one of the things that really got Pacino noticed by
Oh yeah.
in the industry.
And Mr. Fisk doesn't take it so good. He doesn't just fucking roll over. He lets it
No.
know that he's not happy
No.
about this,
No, he doesn't.
and he strong arms him. He helps AJ. Kim's Laundry. Tony B clocks out. He's going to go over the place and work. That's good dedication. Way to go.
dedication.
So after being out all night gambling, drinking,
Works 8-hour shift or whatever. Maybe
now he's
more.
going to go work some
Now
more.
he's
So
gonna
he's
go-
irritated.
Demolition.
He's been up for over 24 hours.
Now he's got to go do sledgehammering demolition. His sons are there, Jason and Justin.
He's trying to.
He bought them new video games, Nintendos. And,
Game Boys. Hey,
Game
guys,
Boys.
what do you think of Daddy's business? He's proud. He's going into business. He wants to, do better for the kids.
Sure.
He's saying maybe someday you could work here. So he's got high expectations that this is really going to be.
Hey, he was in jail for a long time, man. He was a young guy. What was he, 20, 21 or something when he went
Yeah.
away? And he was gone for 15 years, right? Something like that.
15 years.
I mean, that's a rough road, man.
Absolutely. Tony B's new business. And he's got plans. It's going to be good. This is going to be something that
He's taking it very seriously.
As he should. This is an opportunity.
Yeah. On
Robert's,
paper, it's like you said, it's a great opportunity on paper.
Robert's house. Carmela arrives. He opens the door. She grabs him, kisses him. Boom.
Yeah.
She's all in here.
She's all in and cuts to them after, all sweaty, in the afterglow. She brings up, Union College for AJ.
That's where he went. That's where Robert went, to Union College, and he's saying maybe it'll be a good place for AJ. Maybe you could tell them he's a lot like you, because Robert told her that they saw potential in him.
And he steers the conversation away. He says, "Have you been to the Caribbean?" "Yeah, Barbados." Then she brings up AJ's ADD, and he just clocks out there.
Well, this has been on his mind. He's annoyed from when she left the house. She left him with blue balls, and he really fucking slams her here. Maybe we should take a time out. I just think we should not do this. I don't know any other way to put this. I have been thinking, and I think you're a user.
I think you're a user. She's conflicted. She enjoys being with him, but asking for help.
And she's hurt, I think. She goes, "Oh, that's not true. She's hurt."
She's hurt, and then he really nails her and says, "You strong-arm me with the only weapon you have, your pussy."
That's a big that's a big smack in the face there, man.
And that's the last straw for
Leaving
her.
me with a massive heart on.
He says that, yeah.
And the other night, and then practically attacking me sexually after you got what you wanted. She says, "You are fucked up. Fuck you." Great scene.
And then she says, "You better watch your step."
Tony Soprano comes out.
So she does, when she wants to play that card, she'll poo-poo it all the time. Oh, but when she wants to play the card, she'll play the card.
He feels bad about putting the arm on Fisk. He says he wanted to gouge his eyes out with knitting needles.
He feels corrupted.
I like to gouge AS's eyes out with a knitting needle. If I ever met him, I wouldn't mind doing that.
Well,
Gouge his fucking eye out.
Why don't we invite him on the show?
No.
I don't know.
No, because that's what he wants.
You don't want to give that to him.
I think I know who it is, and it annoys me more if it's who I think it is.
I hope it's not.
He's a fucking writer and a scumbag. Card game, 4 a.m. Tony B plays with Patsy, Silvio, and Mitchell Burgess.
Playing Iowa Burgess, the card shark. Mitchell Burgess are one of our great writers. Anthony Spina plays the dealer there.
Silvio wins the hand. Silvio, when he's gambling, he's a bad loser.
If he's losing, he's bad. If he's winning, he's fine.
He's fine. That's it for me. Tapioca, you blew the whole 12 grand, Patsy says. What am I, stupid? I got 400 left. So this guy went on a couple days streak here.
And what has he got to show for it? A bunch of ugly clothes and a couple of Game Boys for his kids.
I mean, really, 12,000, that could have really came in handy. I mean, guys
going
got
into
nothing.
business, yeah.
I mean, what could he be making in the what could he possibly make in the laundry?
Not much, and not only that,
1,000 a week.
Maybe max. Yeah. And not only that, now he's up another night, all night, goes to work still with his alligator shoes, struggling to work, sweating, miserable, stressed
Aggravated.
out.
Tony B fucked up. He fucked up. Anthony Spina, I've seen him in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He's very familiar looking to me.
Yeah.
I don't know him. Kim's Laundry. Tony B brings the laundry from the truck to the factory. He's wearing his nice shoes.
The alligator. I think they're alligator, right?
They're horrible. Horrible
Snake
taste.
skin? I don't know what the hell they are.
Tony B's business, a koi pond is in.
His phone, which is We Are the Champions, which it was before and a few episodes ago, which is great that they're consistent about keeping that ring. It's very thought out, right?
Yeah, I'm over at your mom's. Roadway Express delivered the 5 massage tables. I told him to deliver it here. Shit gives me a headache, details all that stuff. Then he says, maybe I have a brain tumor.
I got a headache in my jaw.
I am sick and tired of your gambling and complaining.
And this is a very interesting line. She says, when I think of me waiting for you to come out of prison, then she goes, I'm sick. I'm evil. Weird line, but very telling. She's nuts, this character, this Gwen. I mean, I'm sick, I'm evil. I mean, it's a small little line, but there's so much told there. What is she saying? She's evil. What does that mean? Because she fell in love with a prisoner? I mean, I don't know what.
Maybe.
She's crazy.
She left Elmo for Tony P. It's a bad joke, but what the fuck? I had to say it.
I thought she did it. I thought Allison did a great
she's
job.
good, terrific actress.
I really believed her.
And she's not on Sesame Street anymore?
I don't know. I'm not up on Sesame Street.
I don't know where they are.
She might be. I mean, that show's been running forever, right? Is it still running?
I don't know. I don't know what's up with Sesame Street these days. I mean, they sold it to Disney, and
well, and then Mr. Kim shows up. Hey, Henry
he's screwing
Ford,
everything up, Tony B.
Big entrepreneur. And he mentions we open in 3 days.
And he's irritating, even the way he says it. Henry Ford, big entrepreneur. It's kind of a zinger, right?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, he's staking this guy. He's certainly giving him a big shot. I mean, Tony B's in a bad mood.
Grumpy, lost all his money.
He hasn't slept. He was, he's hungover. He's pissed off, and he just goes off. That's it.
And he gives him a beating. He fights back, Kim. Tony B's a little banged up.
Taekwondo move with a high block. And
it's a great stunt, him going into the koi pond. I don't know who that was.
Do you think it's kind of this self-sabotage, fear of success thing?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, because he doubts himself.
And then he also says, I can't too much in his head, the details. I mean, there's a guy who was in jail for 15 years. He's not a dumb guy. He passed that test, which we know is not easy. He's not dumb, but there's a lot going on. They're trying to hold down the job. The other thing, he blew the money. He fucked up. Said they're going to get engaged. He's got the 2 kids.
He's got the daughter who's missing, Kelly.
Soprano bedroom, you fixes the door. If you had a man around, you wouldn't need to call me. There's no reason you shouldn't move on with your life if that's what you want.
I thought Tom Aldridge was great.
He's
little
great.
moment, but really honest and very believable.
And a really nice moment between a father and a daughter. He feels bad for you. Well, there was someone he seemed very nice. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't believe that. I don't think he had bad intentions, the teacher.
No, I think she couldn't separate. She's a little bit kind of confused, it seems.
Whatever I say, whatever I...
to Father Phil, that was a big mistake. Bringing up AJ in bed with this guy, big mistake. Maybe she's just out of her element. She's been married. She's never, she hasn't dated since she's probably in high school. I mean, it's a little overwhelming to her, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
whatever I say, whatever I do, because I was married to a man like Tony, my motives will always be called into question. She rolls over and starts crying. It's a real nice moment between a father and a daughter.
But what were her motives? That's the other thing. You know what I mean? I'm sure she was attracted to him and everything, but she definitely she saw him as a source of helping her son, without a doubt. Both things were true, I think. She was attracted.
So you think she prostituted herself?
No, I think it's both. I think she was attracted. She wanted an affair. She thought he was a great guy, but she also saw an opportunity. But she felt because of their intimacy, that it was permissible to ask for help. She saw no moral quandary there, and he did.
She said that's what the people do. They help.
Right, which is true to some extent.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you slept with the guy 2 times and you're asking him for help.
I don't know if she should have done it in bed.
It's a big favor, yeah. That's, bad timing.
Bad timing. She makes some bad moves in this episode with Father Phil and with Wegler.
Go to another part of New Jersey.
Sure.
Go drive into Manhattan. Go to Confession there where nobody knows you.
Sure. That's your plan. Go to the next town. Right?
Go to the next town over, or go into Manhattan. Get in the car and fucking go to church there and say confession where nobody knows her.
Right.
It's a small town. These towns that they live in,
Small community, right?
You know, I mean, he's in Caldwell, North Caldwell. I think that's where the house was.
North Caldwell. Everybody knows each other.
You know, Belleville, Newark,
Yeah.
Kearney. These are Wayne. This is where this all takes place. I mean, these are small towns.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
small communities. I don't know how you keep a secret. Vesuvio, Tony and Tony B meet. You mentioned you might need someone to run the swag airbags. Tony Soprano is sitting there eating himself. Kind of weird. He orders a vodka rocks and then he pays for it himself. And Tony doesn't say, no, I got it.
Tony, Tony's cold when Tony B asks for the airbag job. And then he's kind of satisfied that in a weird way. It's hard doing business with strangers. In a way, Tony's kind of happy that it didn't work out.
But,
Tony
you know, I
Soprano.
just found, don't you find that odd? Like he pulled out his money, let me have a vodka rock.
I think Tony's a little, now you come to me because your little gig didn't work out. Mr. Legit now needs the gangster to pull him out, to save his ass.
Steve Buscemi was great.
Fantastic.
Edie Falco was great. David, how do you pronounce David's last name?
Strathairn.
He's a great actor.
And Jim
He's
Gandolfini.
he's in Billions.
He's in Billions.
He's in Billions.
He's a very good actor, very talented guy. Awesome. The show ends with it seems like Tony Soprano's a little happy that, you know what I mean? Like we were saying before, people don't wish you well.
Oh, they don't wish you
Yeah.
well. They want to see you fail.
And Etta James takes us out of this episode with the song "The Blues Is My Business." Business is good for Tony Soprano.
Good episode.
Good episode. Now it is time. This is, I think this is maybe the best question we've ever received, I have to say. We pick these questions. We alternate every week. I'll tell you. We got a lot of questions.
Tens of thousands.
Thousands of questions. And we alternate week after week. Sometimes, 1 week I pick the question, 1 week Steve. I had picked this question. I've never gotten one this interesting. The winner of our AMA Best Question is Winslow from Providence, Rhode Island. We're going to send Winslow a pair of Bose headphones.
I like Providence. You like Providence?
Great town.
Great
Yeah,
town.
good food.
Some great restaurants.
Yeah.
Andino's, I love. My buddy Joe Ferrer. He's from Providence. I have a lot of friends. Jerry Longo.
Jerry Longo, our buddy.
But now he's in Westerly. And he's also got a place in Twin Rivers Casino
And
called Longo's Meatballs and Martinis. And I'm going to tell you something. I know you don't eat meat anymore. These are possibly the best meatballs I've ever had.
But where's the one we went? That's in Dover Downs.
Dover Downs. He has a
Delaware.
Longo's there.
Longo's, yeah.
But he has a Longo's Meatballs and Martinis in Westerly and in Providence inside the Twin Rivers Casino. There's also a lot of great Italian restaurants up there on Atwell Avenue.
The Atwell Avenue boys.
Yeah. Great stuff. I have a friend of mine from Vegas, Joe Ferrer. He's up there, and his son Albert. Providence, a good town. Good town. So Winslow is from Providence, Rhode Island, and here we are. Winslow asks, what are Christopher and Barbie's spirit animals? Now, what does that even mean?
I think it refers to some, I guess in some cultures, they believe that humans have an animal spirit that's kind of analogous to their own spirit or something like that.
And what are you?
I think I'm a monkey. Like a Christopher, not Michael.
Like a fucking baboon?
No. Wait, because he's asking Christopher, not
Christopher.
Michael.
Oh, not Michael.
Christopher's spirit animal is I think a rhesus monkey. You know the monkeys that they did those they fed drugs to and do experiments on and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
They give nicotine or they give cocaine or whatever, and they can't stop. They get addicted to it and stuff like that. I think that's Christopher. His spirit animal is a rhesus monkey.
Well, maybe Bobby's is an elephant.
I was going to say bear. It's interesting you say elephant. Why? Because you have a long memory.
It's big. Maybe a rhinoceros, a hippo.
A hippo because he's hypocritical. Is that what you mean? No.
Bobby's not hypocritical. Bobby's a good guy.
Well, why is he a hippo?
Because he's big and fat.
I was going to say a bear.
He lumbers.
Okay, a spirit animal is a messenger in the form of an animal that has a personal relationship with an individual. Oh, so it's outside of the body that you talk to and get advice from. Yeah,
No.
rhesus monkey. Christopher, he could compare notes on what it's
Because
like
he's
to
Weasley.
be.
Christopher's Weasley, too. Is he a little Weasley?
A weasel is not a monkey.
I didn't say. I said Weasley.
Yeah, but we're talking about a rhesus monkey is not a weasel.
I say Bobby is a bear's a good one. He
A bear. Well,
lumbers
what kind of bear?
the way he
Grizzly,
moves.
brown, black. Which one?
Black bear.
Black bear. So like one you'd find in North Jersey.
Yeah, one of those guys. He moves around. He moves slow.
He likes sweets. You like sweets,
I
right?
like sweets. I
What's
like
your
all
favorite
food.
sweet? Honey? Do you like honey? Bears like honey.
I like Reese's peanut butter cups. I
You
love
do.
them.
Do you like Reese's Pieces like E.T.?
I like M&M peanuts.
Do you like canola? I like M&M peanut. Do you like cannolis?
Sure.
I love
I
cannolis.
like Schirripa.
I like Sfriadel.
I like what I really like are Italian cookies.
Pinoli?
All kinds of Italian cookies.
The rainbow?
Yeah, they're a little sweet for me these days, but I like all that, with the jelly inside.
The jelly
I like
cookies, yeah, that's
that.
good.
I mean, Fanero's, for my money, has the best.
I like,
Cookies
I might
on
go
11th
there
Street.
after this taping. and grab
11th Street, First Avenue.
some. I may go by there.
Cookies are great. I am a sweets guy. Yeah.
So maybe you are a bear. Now that's very accurate. A black bear. Christopher,
Bobby-
I think, is he's kind of, wiry and all over the place and a little bit wild. I think that's
And what do you
accurate.
think Tony Soprano is? What's his spirit animal?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe a bull,
I like that.
like a bull kind of guy who's, trying to get his way all the time. And, that might be Tony Soprano. What about Paulie Walnuts?
I picture him as a kind of a lion type. Egomaniac.
A
He's
lion.
always
Yeah.
sharp looking.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I say like a lion.
Like a lion.
What about Artie Bucco?
It's interesting because Tony Sirico's a Leo. You know that,
is
right?
he? No, I
What
didn't.
sign was Jim? Andy,
September. His birthday September 18th. Or
so
something.
that's a Libra. Right?
What
Virgo.
about-
That's a Virgo.
What's Artie Bucco?
Artie Bucco?
Bald eagle.
No.
What's Artie Bucco? He's afraid. He's afraid of his wife. He's Weasley.
He's Weasley.
I think who I think is Weasley is Tony B. is a little Weasley.
He's little Weasley. Yeah.
A little Weasley.
Yeah. Artie Bucco, that's a good one. But Tony Sirico, yeah, I could see him as like a
He's a
lion.
lion.
Yeah.
He's a egomaniac, king of the jungle.
His hair, he's got the mane
Yeah.
that nobody can touch.
Nobody has the wings, but
What would you think? So you were going to say an elephant or but that's you're just based on the size. That's not a
Size,
personality
yeah.
trait.
no. I'd say a bear, a black bear.
Black
Likes
bear.
to eat, lumbers, moves slow.
Right. Sleeps in the winter. Hibernates.
All right,
Wins
Winslow.
over Providence. My favorite question ever. Thank you
Really?
very much.
All right. Enjoy your Bose headphones and enjoy some good Italian food on Atwell Avenue. Thanks for listening. Remember, new episodes are released every Monday. Please subscribe to the Talking Sopranos podcast on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and like us on Facebook right now. Get official Talking Sopranos merchandise on TalkingSopranos.com or through our YouTube channel.
Our executive producer is Jeff Sussman. Producers Andy Verderam. Our music was composed and performed by Elijah Amerton. You can hear more of Elijah's music and the band Zopa, which Elijah and I playing together, by clicking the links on TalkingSopranos.com. Our production crew includes Ty Verderam and Sierra Schirripa. We record to Talking Sopranos at NYC Podcasting in the lovely East Village of New York City. It is New York's premier podcasting studio. Talking Sopranos is a Pod Jams production.
All right, pal. I will see you next week.
See you next week.